Chapter 561. C564 Crush from the Saint of Formation. A top-notch 9th grade Taoist formation is enough to kill a large number of immortal emperors and change the entire battle situation in an instant. Now it is only used to deal with one immortal emperor. In the eyes of others, this is indeed a big fortune but a small use. But Rosa doesn't think so. She just wants to use this absolute power to make the other party truly feel fear and despair, and finally die in endless regret. Only in this way will she feel relieved. What a powerful formation. Standing in this terrifying world-destroying calamity fire formation, Yi Junlin only felt that he was in a furnace capable of refining hundreds of millions of people, and it seemed that he would be burned to ashes by this endless calamity fire in the next second. He had to admit that if he relied solely on his current strength, even if he could break through the formation and get out alive later, his condition would definitely be extremely bad, no different from lingering on. From this point, we can see how terrifying the power of the world-destroying tribulation fire formation is. After all, Yi Junlin's current strength must be above the first-tier level among the immortal emperors. Even if this is the case, they all think they have to escape with their remaining blood. This is the terrifying thing about a 9th grade Taoist formation master, which has a huge strategic role in turning the world around. Rumble, deafening sounds continued to sound between heaven and earth, and the destructive energy brewing to the extreme above the formation exploded. The extremely hot air waves were raging like a violent tornado sweeping across. Immediately afterwards, from the vast sea of calamity fire, huge and mighty fire dragons began to emerge one after another, staring eagerly at the silver-haired young man below. Take your time and enjoy it. This is just the first wave of attack. There are 9 more waves to come, and each wave is more powerful than the last. Rosa folded her arms and said proudly, "This is what you will get if you anger this princess. Her Highness Princess's methods are unmatched. If this humble native can die in your hands, it will be the greatest honor in his life." Bai Ju behind him said flatteringly. Looking at the scene in front of him, he couldn't help but feel frightened and felt a chill running down his back. How terrible! Just the first wave of attacks made him feel the breath of death. He could not imagine how powerful the subsequent waves would be. This formation is well laid out, but unfortunately the level is still a little low. It seems that the overall structure is stable, but in fact it is strong on the outside but weak on the inside. It cannot bring out the most perfect effect of the formation. Yi Junlin looked around the audience calmly and pointed out the weaknesses of the formation. Now, he has reached the level of a serious formation sage. Looking at the 9th grade Taoist formation arranged by Rosa is as simple as a doctoral student looking at elementary school arithmetic problems. It is true that Rosa is a 9th level Taoist formation master, but strictly speaking, she is a junior 9th level Taoist formation master. It is very difficult to set up the world-destroying tribulation fire array, and only the top-level 9th level Taoist array masters can set it up completely. Therefore, this formation is incomplete, like a seemingly precise and solid puppet, but there are as many as a dozen hidden dangers of loose parts. Certainly, only an formation saint like Yi Junlin can accurately see the loopholes. Even if he is a top-level 9th level Taoist formation master, it is actually difficult for him to catch these details in a short time with his eyesight. This is a huge gap in levels. Roar! The next second, there were countless fire dragons in the sky above the formation, soaring out of the sea of fire and roaring towards Yi Junlin. The scene is very shocking. Your Highness Princess, look at that native who has been frightened out of his wits. Seeing Yi Junlin motionless without even the slightest defensive move, Bai Ju subconsciously thought that the other party was frightened by the power of the world-destroying tribulation fire formation, and sneered. Rosa snorted and was about to say something, but the next scene made her look in disbelief. Yi Junlin was seen not panicking, raising his hand and flicking his finger in a certain direction of the formation. Aha! A strong force of energy was extremely precise, and when it hit that spot, ripples suddenly appeared in the void, as if forming a chain reaction, affecting the whole body. The fire dragon roaring across the sky seemed to be frozen in midair as if it had been immobilized. What's going on? Rosa's eyes widened in shock, and a bad premonition emerged in her heart. Hee. Yi Junlin continued to flick his fingers with great force, firing them out like bullets, landing accurately on different positions, causing powerful ripples of energy on the surface of the array. The formation runes densely surrounding the air suddenly became sluggish, and even annihilated one after another at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this moment, this powerful 9th grade Taoist formation was showing a tendency to collapse, as if its internal parts had been removed. Boom boom boom, all the fire dragons dissipated one after another, and the vast sea of calamity fire was in chaos. Your Highness, what's going on? Baiju's face was dull, and everything in front of him overturned his understanding. No, that's impossible. Rosa was stunned by the sudden change. Her eyes reflected the silver-haired figure who broke through the formation with a snap of her fingers, and her heart felt like a turbulent wave. There is a saying that goes well. It is said that laymen watch the excitement, while insiders watch the door. As a 9th grade Tao formation master, Rosa naturally knew why the formation had such changes. Obviously, the formation she arranged is being cracked. But that's why Rosa was so shocked. With her knowledge of formations, she could break them with a snap of her fingers, but that was for the most common Tao formations. If she wanted to break the world-destroying fire array set up by others, it would be impossible with her ability. This is the difference in level. However, seeing how calm and easy Yi Junline's method of breaking the array seemed, and each move was extremely accurate, without the slightest deviation. This made Rosa, who always looked up to herself and was arrogant, feel like she had suffered a huge blow. She knew very well that the other party could do this, and his attainments in array formations were definitely far ahead of her. Could this person's array formation level have already left the scope of Taoist array masters and reached the level of array saints? This thought flashed through her mind, and even if Rosa didn't believe it in her heart, she couldn't resist the facts in front of her. She originally thought that only one person in the immortal world had reached the level of array saints in array formation attainments, and that was Lu Wangshu, who dominated the immortal court, but she really didn't expect to meet the second person here. You know, compared with an array saint, her array formation attainments that she was proud of were a joke. At this time, the world-destroying fire array was on the verge of collapse. Click. Yi Junline snapped his fingers, and an energy wave spread out, like a stone thrown into the lake, causing ripples. Boom! In the huge explosion that made the sky collapse and the earth collapse, the entire formation that could not bear the weight was shattered, and the endless fire of catastrophe quickly rolled back and turned into nothing. In the smoke, a young man with a chic temperament walked out slowly, and his silver hair about 10 feet long flew in the air like a waterfall, emitting a glittering rain of light. Looking at the stunned little loli with twin ponytails on the top of the mountain, Yi Junline smiled with a bit of playfulness. Next, have you thought about how to be my maid? Chapter 562. C565 Rosa's strongest trump card. The scene in front of her was extremely shocking to Rosa. She had never expected that one day she would encounter the biggest blow in her life here. In order to set up this formation, Rosa undoubtedly invested expensive materials and resources and devoted great efforts. This was specially prepared for her to kill the super first-line strongman among the immortal emperors. In other words, except for Lu Wangshu, she could be invincible in the immortal realm by relying on the world-destroying fire formation. But now, everything has become empty talk. Just because the formation she set up was destroyed in advance, the culprit was the silver-haired young man. What made Rosa feel the most heartbroken was that the other party defeated her in the field she was most proud of, which was extremely insulting. At this time, after hearing what Yi Junline said, Rosa finally reacted and said in shame and anger. Get lost. You really think you've won just because you broke my formation, right? I'm telling you, don't be too happy too soon. Baiju, go, kill him. Rosa was also so angry that she gave such an order. Princess, are you calling me? The guard behind her pointed at herself. Behind the mask was an extremely confused face with disbelief in her eyes. Your Highness, what are you kidding me? Let me kill him. You think too highly of me, don't you? Rosa said angrily. If not you, who is it? Are you going to betray me? Yes. Under the princess's deterrence, Baiju walked out reluctantly, looking like a knife on his neck. If anyone takes off his mask, they will see a face that is uglier than crying. After what happened just now, Baiju has already determined that Yi Junline is an unmatched existence. He is really convinced. He can't help but be convinced. You know, that is the world-destroying fire formation, which is recognized as the third in the ranking of the heavenly Tao formations. It is extremely powerful. As a result, it was destroyed by a flick of the finger. What a great ability is this! Therefore, Baiju can't figure out how Yi Junline did it. Seeing this, Yi Junline was amused. Did you let him come to die? As he spoke, the sword body was covered with a layer of golden light, and endless sword energy and sword intent were flowing. Clang! The sound of the sword was extremely high and resounded between heaven and earth. It's over. Baiju was so scared that his scalp was numb, and his fighting spirit was gone. Humph, this princess is not as superficial as you think. Rosa had 5 special 8th grade Tao talismans in her hand. After injecting immortal power, they flew towards Baiju one after another. Swish, swish, swish. 5 talismans fell on Baiju's limbs and chest, emitting dazzling light, and instantly merged into his flesh and blood, rippling with extremely violent energy fluctuations. Baiju showed pain on his face, and his body suddenly rose a little taller. Countless powerful forces emerged from his body and filled his whole body. Mysterious black lines appeared on the surface of his skin. The aura on his body was rising steadily. Roar! Baiju's mask was broken, revealing a hideous face with bloodshot eyes. 2 sharp horns grew on his forehead. He raised his head and roared, releasing a terrifying and murderous aura like a storm, as if he was an ancient demon god who suddenly appeared. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows, a little surprised. The aura on the other party was more than 10 times stronger than the black-masked man he had met before. I am. Baiju's eyes showed disbelief when he noticed the earth-shaking changes in his body. He was immersed in his inner vision and could see that there were 5 talismans on his limbs and chest, providing him with a constant supply of great power. This is a talisman newly developed by this princess. Now you are enough to exert the strength of the top one among the immortal emperors. If you still can't take this guy down, this princess will hold you responsible. Rosa pointed her finger, raised her snow-white chin, and said in an unquestionable tone. This set of talismans was developed by her with a lot of effort and energy, and it is her most proud masterpiece so far. Even her teacher, who is the talisman saint, was amazed when he saw it, and felt that it has great development value in the future, enough to improve the combat effectiveness of the entire army. Of course, the reason why she didn't use it on herself was very simple. Rosa didn't want to take this risk, because this talisman had great sequelae and was harmful to the body. Yes, Your Highness. Baiju's heart was settled down, and the look he looked at Yi Junlin gradually became fierce. He suddenly raised his hand, and a mighty snake spear appeared in his palm, exuding the aura of a top-grade immortal emperor weapon. When he held it firmly in his hand, a brilliant light burst out, as dazzling as the sun. Baiju pointed the snake spear at Yi Junlin, his face full of murderous intent, and shouted. Human race, take it. Boom. The next second, Baiju charged forward, and the air behind him suddenly exploded, with a rumbling sound. Chila, the spearhead of the snake spear was entangled with countless Shira auras, and its momentum was unparalleled. The power of this attack was enough to kill a master of Heiju's level in seconds. Because the current Baiju was already at the top level among the immortal emperors. Swish, when the spearhead was about to reach him, Yi Junlin swung his sword and slashed it out without panic. There was a clang sound. The huge flat ripples spread out, shattering the mountains along the way, and the dust rolled. What? Baiju's eyes changed, and his face looked ugly. He stabbed out with all his strength, but was blocked by the opponent's sword. Well, it is much stronger than the masked man before, but if you compare with me, you are far from it. Yi Junlin felt the power gap and commented seriously. As soon as this was said, Baiju's face turned red, and he roared in anger, Human race, you are too arrogant. He admitted that Yi Junlin was very strong, but now he has a special bonus, it would be unreasonable if he still couldn't beat him. Swish swish swish, Baiju used his body skills, coordinated with the 10-foot snake spear in his hand, and stabbed with tricky and domineering spear skills. One after another, layer by layer, the power was also madly superimposed. Yi Junlin, on the other hand, looked calm and composed. He put one hand behind his back and used the other hand to hold the Kengyuan sword and counter the opponent's moves. The sharp sword energy was surging and tearing the void along the way. During the process, Baiju became more and more frightened. Is this the strength that a strong man of the 6th level of the Immortal Emperor should have? He is already like this, and he can't suppress the opponent. Secret skill, 9 pythons swallowing the sky. In a hurry, Baiju decided to use his strongest move to give Yi Junlin a fatal blow. Boom! The Zongba snake spear was waving wildly. With its traction, the immortal energy in a radius of tens of millions of miles was boiling, gathering like a hurricane. In an instant, 9 huge pythons appeared, emitting a terrifying murderous aura, and they looked fierce as if they were going to swallow the sky. Die! Baiju's face was murderous, and he swung the Zongba snake spear vigorously, and the 9 giant pythons that swallowed the sky also bit Yi Junlin together. Haha, it's too powerful. Yi Junlin's silver hair was flying around, and there was always a playful smile on his lips. Swish, there was a breathtaking killing momentum on his body, like a peerless sword god who walked out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Immortal killing sword technique. Chila, a touch of extremely gorgeous golden sword light shot out, and the surface was rippling with a bloodthirsty red halo. 9 giant pythons that swallowed the sky were cut in half and turned into nothing. Puff! Baiju was struck by lightning, spitting blood, and his face showed shock. Sensing that something was wrong, he began to mobilize the Shira Qi, condensing it on his body to form a dark purple armor, which was going to turn from offense to defense. I said, you are still far away. Yi Junline's voice came from far to near, with a mocking meaning. Swish, swish, swish. Blood-colored sword Qi crisscrossed and crisscrossed, so fast that it was unimaginable. Before Baiju could react, numerous sword marks appeared on his body, and a large amount of blood spurted out. The most terrifying thing was that the wound could not heal at all, and was being eroded by an extremely terrifying sword intent, and even the Shira Qi could not do anything about it. At this moment, Baiju was sweating in pain and screaming. He couldn't believe that he was obviously at the level of a super first-line immortal emperor, but he ended up like this. How big is the gap in strength with the opponent? That arrogant native can be so strong. Rosa was shocked and was shocked again by the strength shown by Yi Junline. She was unlucky, and the more she thought about it, the angrier she got. Decided to use the strongest Taoist talisman in the bottom of the box to kill the threat in front of her. Rosa carefully took out a talisman, and then mobilized almost all the immortal power in her body to inject it into it, constantly stimulating the power of the shocking god talisman. This is called the Immortal Destroying Talisman, which is a top-level 9th grade Taoist talisman, enough to kill a super first-line immortal emperor-level strongman. Rosa didn't believe that this tricky native could survive the attack of this talisman. At the same time, just as Yi Junline was about to kill Baiju with a sword, a warning suddenly rose in his heart. Yi Junline looked at the source of the breath, and his pupils shrank uncontrollably. In Rosa's hand, a talisman was raised high. This talisman emitted a brilliant and boundless brilliance. From a distance, it looked like a sun was raised, and the breath was terrifying. Native, go to hell. Rosa's face was fierce, and the immortal destroying talisman in her hand burst out a destructive energy that was crushing and shrouding Yi Junline and Baiju. Princess, don't, Baiju shouted in horror. Because the distance was relatively close, he was the first to be swallowed by this energy and turned into ashes in despair. What kind of talisman is this? Yi Junline's eyebrows twitched and his whole body felt cold. This was the strongest blow he had ever encountered since he broke through the immortal emperor, enough to pose a serious threat to his life. Boom, 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 boom. In the sky, the silver-haired figure was submerged by the vast light, and countless energy hurricanes swept the earth. It seemed that the whole world was shaking. Looking at her masterpiece, Rosa felt very relieved, with a smile of victory on her lips. Humph, this is the end of going against this princess. Chapter 563. C566 You made me pregnant. Immortal Destroying Talisman, as the name suggests, once activated, the power released can kill all immortals. With Rosa's level, it is naturally impossible to refine it, but don't forget her identity. There are many talisman saints behind her. Therefore, he is naturally qualified to obtain the Immortal Destroying Talisman easily. Rosa felt a great sense of accomplishment for being able to get rid of this formidable enemy. But when I think about it carefully, I feel very unlucky. After all, she came here with full confidence, specially set up the world-destroying fire formation, and also had a group of Immortal Emperor-level subordinates. It could be said that she was ready to fight and cause earth-shaking in the immortal world. However, before the plan was even halfway through, it suffered a heavy blow. Not only was the proud formation broken, but all the Immortal Emperor-level subordinates were also killed. From a certain perspective, she is now the polished commander. Faced with the awkward situation of having no one available. Therefore, Rosa felt that meeting Yi Junline here was the most unlucky thing in her life. Even if she executes this Guiling Qi 10,000 times, it will still be difficult to relieve the hatred in her heart. What's more, if he dies like this now, it will be an advantage for him. Forget it, the biggest threat has been resolved anyway. I only need to lead the remaining troops to occupy the northern cold immortal territory, and then recover as soon as possible to deal with the strong men sent by the immortal court. Rosa pondered. As the princess of the Holy Kingdom of Virtuo and the daughter of the leader of the Asura tribe, she certainly does not have only one 9th grade Taoist talisman, but to activate a talisman of this level requires a large amount of immortal power. Just now, she just activated an immortal talisman, and the immortal power in her body was almost at its bottom. You can imagine how huge the consumption was. Just when Rosa was preparing for her next move, she suddenly noticed something was wrong, her heart skipped a beat, and she quickly raised her delicate and lovely face to look, and murmured with her little cherry mouth. No, In the sky, the explosion of light gradually dissipated, and a silver-haired figure appeared with wisps of smoke. Above his head, the immortal crown of the great heavenly throne stood suspended in the air, with billions of auspicious immortal lights falling down, making him as majestic and inviolable as a great master. Yi Junline's face looked a little ugly, and there was a shocking crack in the Kangyuan sword in his hand. Recalling what he had just experienced, he felt more dangerous than ever before. In order to resist the immortal destroying talisman, he spent almost all his strength, and finally got through it safely without any danger. Even so, the top-quality immortal emperor weapon in his hand could not withstand the terrifying impact, and there was a trace of shattering. Looking at the little Lolita with twin tails again, Yi Junline suddenly felt wary and did not dare to look down upon her in the slightest. But to Rosa, it was like an ordinary person seeing a ghost, her eyes showing deep fear. The charming little cherry mouth opens into an exaggerated, oh, shape. What's going on? Why can this guy still come out alive? The princess of the Asura tribe felt incredible, and the scene before her eyes once again refreshed her understanding. It must be resolved quickly. Yi Junline's eyes were sharp, and he held a sword in one hand and struck away in a flash. The power of the sword was extremely domineering, and the power of the sword exuded was earth-shattering. He changed his mind, and in order to avoid further mistakes, he decided to kill Rosa in one go. After all, the methods shown by this little princess prevented him from taking her seriously. If he insisted on capturing her alive, he would probably capsize in the gutter. This moment, Rosa's heart trembled, and there was a chill on her back. She knew that Yi Junline really wanted to kill her. Vaguely, a breath of death emerged in my heart. To know. Rosa, who had been pampered since childhood, was protected by guards when traveling, and no one in the Shira world dared to do anything against her. So when Yi Junline came with murderous intent, she felt scared for the first time in her life. No more playing, I want to go home. Rosa turned around and ran in a panic, rushing towards the outer passage with all her strength. It's too late to think about escaping now. Yi Junline was faster and thrust out his sword without hesitation. In an instant, Rosa felt like a light on her back, and a biting chill spread from her back to the top of her head. The extreme panic even caused a physiological reaction, and she suddenly felt the urge to pee. No, I am the princess who was wrong, isn't it okay? Please don't kill me. Hearing the sword wind roaring behind her, Rosa's voice had a hint of crying, and she begged for mercy with her face pale. Hee. There was a sneer on Yi Junline's lips. Kyla, the sword was carrying an endless stream of sword energy and was about to penetrate Rosa's body directly. Suddenly, there was a dark red pendant on Rosa's body, which suddenly glowed with bright red light as if it was induced. Suddenly, a natural dark red light shield formed, covering her body. The long sword in Yi Junline's hand stabbed the light mask hard, and the result was an extremely strong force, causing his body to fall backwards. Yi Junline's face darkened, realizing that he probably wouldn't be able to kill this woman. It's a magic weapon gifted to me by my father. Seeing this, Rosa was surprised and happy. Taking advantage of this gap, she accelerated and flew away with the help of this impact. She immediately distanced herself from Yi Junline and headed straight for the deepest extraterrestrial passage ahead, which was what the immortal monks called the Devil's Cave. It was a whirlpool like a black hole, exuding an extremely cold and strange aura. Haha, this princess comes and goes as she pleases, what can you, a lowly native, do to me? Seeing that the danger has turned into safety, this little lowly with a sassy personality felt relieved and mocked Yi Junline unscrupulously from a distance. She even deliberately made a face and stuck out her pink tongue. Lululu, I'll piss you off to death. From a distance, Yi Junline saw this scene and felt very depressed. This was the first time he had failed so far. In fact, Yi Junline's ability to force Rosa to this point was already an extremely heaven-defying achievement. No immortal emperor in the immortal world could do this. What's more, she has the support of the Holy Tao forces and many trump cards. With his cultivation, she is not at the same level. Just when Yi Junline was depressed, a thought flashed through his mind. He suddenly thought of something, and a wicked smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. You forced me to do this. As he spoke, Yi Junline raised his index finger, pointed his finger directly at the other party, and said word by word. Big belly finger. At the same time, after mocking Yi Junline, Rosa came to the side of the passage with satisfaction. Before leaving, she waved at the other party and said with a playful smile. Hee. Bye. The next second, Rosa felt pain in her stomach and her face changed suddenly. Ah! In her horrified eyes, her originally flat belly bulged quickly, and her clothes were about to tear. At this moment, Rosa had a big belly, as big as a pregnant woman in 10 months of pregnancy. Why, how come my belly is? This petite little loli with twin ponytails, with a cute face, was full of disbelief. When she realized what was happening, she angrily said to Yi Junlin in the distance with her big belly. It's you, my belly is big because of you. As soon as she finished speaking, Rosa was stunned for a moment, her pretty face was red as blood. Although this sentence was very misleading, Yi Junlin had to admit that it was true. That's right, it was me who made you big. Yi Junlin coughed a few times and said seriously, after all, you came all the way here, I have to show my appreciation. You can leave now, goodbye. Chapter 564. C567 collapsed Rosa. Hearing this, those who didn't know thought it was some crazy scumbag who got a girl pregnant and then abandoned her. Rosa collapsed, her hands had nowhere to rest, and she scratched randomly on her bulging belly. She really couldn't understand how Yi Junlin did it. Let me ask you, what an evil move this is. It can actually make a monk's belly swell instantly like a pregnant woman. It's simply hard to guard against. When she thought about going back with her big belly, Rosa was even more angry and cried. Crystal tears fell down her cheeks, and she said with grief and anger, "You despicable native, you actually resorted to such dirty tricks, woo-woo." Yi Junlin felt happy in his heart and said, "Don't blame me, you brought this on yourself." Rosa grinded her teeth with hatred, stared at a pair of red eyes like a little rabbit, and asked, "Who are you? Do you dare to tell me your name?" This was the darkest day in her life. Not only was he defeated in a crushing manner, but he also had to go back in such a humiliating manner. And the person who brought all this was actually a strong human race that she had never heard of. How could she accept this? How can I swallow this breath? You must know that the human race is now weak and has no say or status in the universe. Now she was actually defeated by the genius of a human race from a small world. As the princess of the Asura tribe, Rosa found it hard to accept. Therefore, she desperately wanted to find out who this silver-haired young man was. Yi Junlin was not timid at all, and said calmly, "Listen up, Emperor Yi Tian, remember to be smarter next time and go around me when you encounter me, otherwise, you know the consequences." Yi, Emperor Yi. Rosa almost suspected that her ears had heard wrongly, and was stunned with shock. Is this title of Emperor of Heaven something you can call yourself casually? In today's universe, only the Lord of the Divine Court is qualified to call himself the Emperor of Heaven in front of all the heavens and worlds. You, a guy who is not even in the Holy Realm, how do you get the confidence and face? A flash of disdain flashed in Rosa's eyes. You, a native, really don't understand any rules, and yet you call yourself the Emperor of Heaven. Are you worthy? Yi Junlin was very thick-skinned and said seriously, "I think I'm a good match." Are you worthy? Bah, 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 bah. Rosa almost lost control of her emotions and was so angry that she even spat. Due to the excessive movement, she felt a sharp pain in her stomach. Oops. Rosa clutched her big belly and frowned. The big belly finger was obtained by Yi Junlin through signing into the system. As the user's level increases, the effect becomes stronger and more lasting. Therefore, as the immortal Emperor Yi Junlin, the effect of the big belly finger became more and more obvious. Hey, be careful, don't inflate the fetus. Yi Junlin plays with taste. Roll. Rosa was like a violent Lolita, she was so angry that she gritted her teeth. My surname is Yi, I will remember you, you shameless guy, I will take revenge sooner or later. Then, he turned his head angrily and dived into the whirlpool. Buzz buzz. The extraterritorial channel was completely closed and disappeared without a trace. What a pity. Yi Junlin sighed. The best result is to capture Rosa alive as his maid, which will have huge utilization value. But at present, this idea is unrealistic. Fortunately, before Rosa, the little girl, left, he could still rely on the strange trick of the big belly finger to disgust the other party. To a certain extent, it was a victory in disguise. I don't know how the progress is going with fellow Taoist Li. Yi Junlin's eyes flickered, and with the help of his sense of breath, he started to create a communication light talisman and flew into the distance. Without the Supreme Commander in charge, the remaining forces of the alien coalition are destined to be unable to make any waves. It's time for this farce to end. Far away in a large area, a bright moon hangs in the sky, and billions of hazy moonlights fall down. Ah! Screams came and went. Many foreign monks who were hiding in Tibet had their bodies pierced by wisps of moonlight, and fell into a pool of blood with despair on their faces, losing their breath of life. Facing the powerful means of an immortal emperor, they had no room to resist. Humph, Even if you hide to the ends of the earth, you will still die. In the sky, Li Ruotong's hair was flying, her face was delicate and white, and her eyes were cold and shocking. Aha! A message light symbol flew across the sky. Li Ruotong felt something, and quickly reached out to grab it, carefully checking the contents on the light talisman. Soon, the indifferent expression melted like ice, and a bright smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. For a time, even everything was eclipsed. The monks nearby were all fascinated. At the same time, everyone was also surprised. What did this immortal Emperor Haoyu, who had always been as cold as an iceberg, see something that made him smile so rarely? Sure enough, he didn't break his promise. The silver-haired figure appeared in his mind, and Li Ruotong subconsciously pursed her red lips, and her heartbeat inexplicably accelerated a bit. The content was only a few words, passed over in a single stroke, but Li Ruotong could already imagine how dangerous the whole process was. After all, the alien princess, who is the supreme commander, can control those powerful immortal emperor-level subordinates, and her methods must be very terrifying. Even so, he was no match for that man, and in the end he could only run away in despair. As her thoughts turned, Li Ruotong's admiration for Yi Junlin invisibly increased. He is simply an invincible existence. Everyone, just now, Emperor Yi Tian told me the latest news. The supreme commander of the extraterritorial demons has been repelled by him. We only need to clean up the remaining remnants to declare victory in this battle. Li Ruotong mustered up her immortal power, and her cold voice spread to all directions, constantly echoing between heaven and earth. Hearing this, all the cultivators were boiling. They were so excited that they couldn't help themselves. Their faces flushed like drunkenness, their eyes sparkled, and they repeatedly shouted the three words, Emperor Yi Tian. It seems that these three words can bring people infinite faith and strength. Then, this great news was quickly spread through various means, sweeping across the entire Beihan immortal domain like a storm. Every cultivator who heard the news was very excited. No, this is impossible. How could Her Royal Highness be defeated by that native? This must be fake news. On the other hand, the remaining alien tribes were like being struck by thunder and felt unbelievable. In their hearts, they were unwilling to believe it. In the minds of all the monks of the alien coalition, Rosa was the princess of the supreme clan and a peerless demon who practiced both talismans and arrays. How could she be beaten and fled by a native on this backward planet? This is too unbelievable, but this is the fact. As the war continued to advance, they were beaten back step by step without a leader, and their numbers were rapidly decreasing. Not long after, these remnants realized that the news was true. The Asura princess, whom they regarded as a god, was really defeated by a native here. They were shocked and deeply desperate, and there was no fighting spirit in their hearts. We lost, a Yaksha general lost his faith in the encirclement of human monks. The trident in his hand fell to the ground with a clang, and he murmured in despair. Finally, as spells were cast from all around, his entire figure was submerged in a colorful ball of light. Such scenes are everywhere. Chapter 565. C568 confirmed the immortal Lord Beihan. Haha, the overall situation has been decided, why don't you, the demons from outside the territory, just accept your death? On the other side, an encirclement and suppression battle was going on. Many monks from sects, holding magic weapons, launched a fierce attack on a group of Squid Tai tribe who had hidden in the mountains and resisted stubbornly. Rumble. The exploding light clusters rose densely. The entire vast and majestic mountain was torn into pieces. Sand and dust billowed into the sky like smoke. Countless immortal trees were swept into the air with their roots and mud, and then were torn to pieces in a majestic energy flow. This group of squid-faced, bloated creatures continued to retreat during the battle, leaving behind the corpses of their companions along the way. Their faces were panicked and there was great despair in their hearts. Coupled with the pressing pressure of the sect monks and the deliberate guidance in words, they suffered a mental breakdown and low morale. Among them, a strong man from the Squid Tai tribe who was the leader in the team roared out of control. We can't go back anyway, so we might as well die together with these human natives. As it spoke, its eyes were red and bloodshot, and shocking broken marks appeared on its body. It carried an unstoppable and violent momentum, like a cannonball hitting the sky. No, this extraterrestrial demon is going to explode. The faces of the monks changed with fright, some fled in panic, and some hurriedly used defensive magic weapons. Die. The Squid Tai creature had a crazy face, its tall and bloated body was as round as a balloon, and countless blazing and destructive rays of light were released from the cracks. It is determined that if it self-destructs with its own cultivation, it will definitely kill most of the human monks present. Aha! At this moment, a big red hand surrounding the immortal Lord level law stretched out from the void, grabbing the strong man from the Squid Tai tribe who was about to self-destruct. Bang! A dull explosion sounded. It happened that the strong man from the Squid Tai clan self-destructed, but the energy from the explosion was extinguished by the big red hand, and no trace of the aftermath was leaked to the outside world. It's so lonely. Humph, you still dream of dying together, and you don't even ask if I will give you a chance. At this time, a majestic middle-aged figure appeared on the horizon. He was wearing a flat crown on his head and a large red python robe. He had a king-like aura and an unruffled face. A hint of contempt. He is currently the strongest immortal in the northern cold immortal realm, Qi Shao Immortal. The sudden change stunned the monks present. When they saw clearly who was coming, surprise suddenly appeared on their faces, and they said gratefully, "Thank you, senior, for your help." Qi Shao Immortal Lord waved his hand and said in a nonchalant tone, "We are all from the same human race, so it takes a little effort." As he spoke, he cast two sharp sword-like gazes at the frightened Squid Tai clan creatures below, and made loud and targeted sounds from his mouth, which gave them splitting headaches and trembling seas of consciousness. The demons from outside the territory, leave no one behind. Qi Shao Immortal Lord clapped his big hand, and the giant red hand holding up the sky was like a five-finger mountain, falling away with an endless sense of oppression. No! A cry of grief rang out, which was quickly drowned out by the roar, and the ground within a million miles radius was shaking violently. After the red palm disappeared, a large and deep palm print was left on the spot, bottomless. It's amazing. He is indeed the strongest immortal in the northern cold immortal realm. A young prodigy said in awe, impressed by the posture displayed by the Qi Shao Immortal. Hear this. The corners of Qi Shao Immortal Lord's mouth raised slightly, but then he suppressed them skillfully. He was very happy with this title in his heart. Although he is currently recognized as the third most powerful person in the northern cold immortal realm, with two unsurpassable immortal emperor-level figures above his head, he can firmly sit on the throne of the strongest immortal lord with his strength. In a way, he also realized his vision of becoming the strongest. Don't get too happy too early. Continue to hunt down the remaining extraterrestrial demons. You must not let a single fish slip through the net. Qi Shao Immortal Master said in an irresistible tone. Yes. The monks looked solemn. That's all. Thanks to the concerted efforts of countless people, all the foreign monks who were wandering in many large areas were wiped out. At this moment, cheers of victory sounded everywhere, like a roaring mountain and a tsunami shaking the northern Han immortal realm. Many people cheered excitedly and cried with joy everywhere. The child's father, all those extraterrestrial demons have been killed. If you are alive in heaven, please rest in peace. A gray-faced woman knelt on the ground holding a crying baby in her arms, looking up with tears streaming down her face, murmured. Her husband, in order to help her and her children survive, lured away the group of ferocious monsters alone, and was finally cut into pieces and died. The same is true for many monks who participated in the battle. When they think of their fellow disciples who died heroically around them, the joy of victory in their hearts is diluted a lot. After all, the invasion of the alien army caused atrocious killings, and countless people died tragically. While everyone was happy about the victory, they were also sad for the deceased relatives and friends. This is also a heavy blow to the northern cold immortal territory. Hey, it's finally over. Fortunately, we have defended this pure land and have not been succeeded by the demons outside the territory. The longevity ancestor who returned to the sect side. These hateful monsters, I will chop them down one by one when I see them from now on. Thinking of the tragic scene outside, Luo Qingwu's eyes almost burst out with anger, and she gritted her teeth with hatred. Fortunately, Senior Yi took action and defeated the commander of the extraterritorial demons, otherwise we would be in even greater trouble. Tang Yaoyao said with lingering fear. Yes, Senior Yi is really powerful, and he is the pillar of our Beihan immortal domain. The old ancestor Chengsheng sighed. He also heard some news, and the more he understood, the more frightened he was. The scale of the Demon Cave riot was unprecedented, and there were more than a dozen alien immortal emperors leading the riot. It is said that even the immortal emperor Hao Yu almost fell. Fortunately, that man was there, and he turned the tide with great strength, which calmed down this unprecedented disaster. Otherwise, the entire Beihan immortal domain would fall completely, and all living beings, including him, would be under the rule of the extraterritorial demons from then on, carrying that humiliation and being in constant fear. This dark future is simply terrifying to think about. Just thinking about it gave him goosebumps and a chill in his heart. Therefore, the Changsheng Patriarch was very grateful to Yi Junlin, and felt that it was inevitable that he could not defeat him in the Supreme Secret Realm. He even felt that it was an honor to be beaten by the other party. Next, all major domains entered the stage of recuperation. After experiencing this storm, Yi Junline's prestige in Beihan Immortal Domain reached its peak. One after another, 10,000 feet statues based on him rose from the ground for countless creatures to worship. Since then, the weight of the three words, Yi Tiandi, has even exceeded the sky in the minds of the cultivators in Beihan Immortal Domain. And the invasion of foreign races was later known to the Immortal Court. After figuring out the whole story, many elders of the Immortal Court were worried and felt fortunate that Beihan Immortal Domain could survive the difficulties. At the same time, they developed a strong interest in the Yi Tiandi who suddenly appeared. At first, they thought that this person was too arrogant and a little disliked him in their hearts. After all, there were no good names for him, but he had to call himself Tiandi, which made them feel really difficult to evaluate. But now, the attitudes of these elders towards this so-called Yi Tiandi have greatly improved. The young are formidable. In the meeting hall, Lu Wangshu sat on the main seat and said in a deep voice. Now, I officially announce that fellow Taoist Yi will take the position of Beihan Immortal Domain. Do you have any objection? The lord of each immortal domain must be the immortal emperor with the highest local popularity and recognized strength. Since the man surnamed Yi has made great contributions and meets the two characteristics of the conditions at the same time, according to the principle of fairness and justice, the position of Beihan Immortal Lord should be handed over to him. As long as he becomes an immortal lord, his status is higher than that of an ordinary Class A immortal official. Except for these elders with the longest experience, everyone will be suppressed. At this moment, when Lu Wangshu made this proposal, no one on the seat refuted it. Everyone expressed their tacit consent. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 566. C569 Uncomfortable Yu Washang. Seeing that no one had any objections, Lu Wangshu nodded. In this case, I will formally send an envoy from the Immortal Court to hand over the official seal of the Northern Cold Immortal Lord to that Taoist fellow Yi, and by the way, announce this news to the world. After saying that, he personally arranged it. It is worth mentioning that Lu Wangshu did not associate the recently famous Emperor Yi with Yi Junline, who inherited his Yushan Island in Kunlun realm. The reason is that he did not think that the other party could break through the cultivation so quickly. After all, how long has it been? Not only did he ascend to the immortal realm and break through the immortal emperor, but he also became a top-notch powerhouse among the immortal emperors. Calculating the time, is this possible? So, Lu Wangshu believes that this Emperor Yi Tian must be a native cultivator of the northern cold immortal realm, who has been practicing hard and developing silently for a long time, and finally succeeded in his practice and emerged from nowhere, and has since become a sensation. The reason why he is so arrogant that he calls himself the Emperor of Heaven is actually a kind of mentality that expands after enduring to the extreme and gaining power overnight. In layman's terms, it is similar to the nature of nouveau riche and local tyrants. At first, Lu Wangshu was prejudiced, thinking that such people did not know the immensity of heaven and earth, but after experiencing this demon cave riot, his impression of Yi Tiandi changed greatly. After all, he killed a group of alien immortal emperors and saved the world. This is such a great achievement that it can stop the world's gossip. Lu Wangshu could vaguely guess that if the Beihan immortal realm was successfully captured, the demon caves in other immortal realms would respond, and then the internal chaos of the immortal world would be great. Anyone who is not stupid can see the interests involved. Therefore, he deserves the title of Beihan Immortal Lord. When the Immortal Court announced this important statement to the outside world, the Central Earth Immortal Realm was the first to bear the brunt of the sensation. What? The candidate for the Northern Cold Immortal Lord has been confirmed. It turns out that Yi Tiandi will take the position. No way, does the Immortal Court value him so much? Compared to the so-called Yi Tiandi, I hope that Hao Immortal Emperor will be competent. Hehe, you know shit. Do you know that the riot in the Demon Cave in the Northern Cold Immortal Domain was suppressed by Yi Tiandi? It is said that he killed more than a dozen alien immortal emperors with his own strength, and then protected the Northern Cold Immortal Domain. Hiss, then in this case, he does have this ability and deserves the position of the Northern Cold Immortal Lord. The Central Earth Immortal Domain is talking about this topic. You know, the status of the Immortal Lord is very high, and most of the immortal emperors have to bow and salute when they see him. Because it is a symbol of status and strength. As for the position of the Northern Cold Immortal Lord, many cultivators previously supported Li Ruotong to take the position, and held a contemptuous attitude towards Yi Junlin, who made the name of Yi Tiandi so easy to cause dissatisfaction. Unexpectedly, Yi Junlin was qualified for this position in the end. Everyone was skeptical at first, but after a deeper understanding of the situation, their views on him changed greatly. Killing more than a dozen alien immortal emperors in a row, suppressing the demon cave and saving countless lives, what a brilliant feat. Enough to be recorded in the history of the immortal world. It is not an exaggeration to call him the guardian of Beihan immortal realm. Therefore, more and more people feel that it is reasonable and approve of the action of the immortal court. Yu Dao Palace. Yu Huasheng received the notice from the immortal court, and his nose was crooked with anger. He slapped the table in front of him into powder. Damn it, still can't stop him from becoming the Lord of Beihan Immortal. The voice contained deep reluctance and anger, echoing in the elegant attic. Previously, Li Ruotong recommended Yi Junlin to the immortal court to become the Lord of Beihan Immortal, but he secretly blocked it again and again. Because he didn't want to see that man become the Lord of Beihan Immortal. If that was the case, the other party's status would be higher than his. If he wanted to deal with him secretly in the future, the resistance would definitely be greater. This was a situation that Yu Huasheng didn't want to see no matter what. Unfortunately, reality gave him a head-on blow. The highest decision-maker of the Immortal Court decided to let the other party serve as the Lord of Beihan Immortal. What are those foreign races doing? They can't even take down a Beihan Immortal domain. Yu Huasheng's face was so gloomy that water was about to drip out, and he was very annoyed. Since the incident with Emperor Huntian, he was more and more afraid of being discovered by others. Therefore, he was eager to solve all potential threats. And Yi Junlin was a thorn in his eyes. But now, the threat he wanted to eliminate the most has now soared to a high position, which made him feel uncomfortable, mixed with a little panic and uneasiness. Suddenly, Yu Huasheng's eyelids jumped, and he took out a special sound transmission ring from his arms, which was completely different from the ones circulating on the market. This sound transmission ring, like a star in the abyss, was covered in pitch black, exuding an indescribable dark atmosphere. On the ring holder, a demon's eye quietly stared at the world, with deep and mysterious pupils, emitting a faint light, like a strange ghost fire. At this time, the sound transmission ring was vibrating violently, as if it was conveying extremely important news to Yu Huasheng. Damn it, at this critical moment, the outside world dared to send someone to contact me. Yu Huasheng's face was extremely ugly, and a sense of resistance emerged in his heart. That's right, this sound transmission ring was secretly given to him by the outside world envoy to facilitate future contact. Now, the sound transmission ring was vibrating. It was obvious that people over there had entered the immortal world and were trying to get in touch with him. Yu Huasheng suppressed his displeasure and immersed himself in checking the contents of the sound transmission ring. Hey, there are new instructions above, which require your cooperation as an agent. Now we must meet to discuss them in detail. Close black lens bracket. Seeing this news, Yu Huasheng adjusted his breathing a few times, tried his best to suppress his resistance, and responded. Send me the coordinates. Don't act rashly until I find you. Close black lens bracket. After a while, the other party responded to the message. Are you teaching me how to do things? Close black lens bracket. See this. Yu Huasheng was stunned at first, with blue veins popping out on his forehead, and the expression on his face seemed to be cannibalistic. I taught you a lesson. Who do you think you are? Yu Huasheng was very unhappy, and wanted to retaliate harshly to give the other party a blow. However, the only trace of reason left in his mind restrained him from lashing out at the other party. Yu Huasheng knew that he couldn't do this. Because this is a person sent by an outside force to coordinate with him, and his status is more noble than him. He must cooperate unconditionally, otherwise he will be abandoned as a chess piece. There was no way. Who let him board the pirate ship? If you don't obey, you will be kicked down and drowned. Call. Yu Huasheng took a deep breath and exhaled it. He tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart and said patiently. Your Excellency, you misunderstood. I am not teaching you how to do things. I am just doing it for safety reasons. After all, you don't want to be discovered by the powerful people in the immortal world, right? Close black lens bracket. Soon, the other party sent the coordinates and a reply. Haha, what you native said makes sense, so hurry up and get over here. My companions and I don't want to waste time here. Close black lens bracket. His words were full of arrogance, and he didn't treat Yu Huasheng as an equal at all. He had an attitude of bossing around his subordinates. Yu Hua was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He threw the sound transmission ring to the ground and cursed loudly. "Fuck, you're a fool to step on a horse, how dare you be so rude to me." After spitting out the fragrance for a while, Yu Huasheng reluctantly picked up the sound transmission ring and put it in his arms with resentment. As the saying goes, a little impatience leads to a big conspiracy. When I break through to that realm one day, none of you dare to underestimate me. Thoughts are turning. The Yu Huasheng transformed into a wisp of smoke and silently headed towards its destination. At the same time, not only in the Middle-earth immortal realm, this news also spread completely in the immortal realm, and countless monks learned about the candidate to serve as the immortal lord of Beihan. They were both shocked and excusable. After all, Yi Tiandi's record was the best proof, and there was no room for them to question or slander him at all. Northern Cold Immortaland. The whole world is celebrating, firecrackers are blasting, lanterns are decorated everywhere. A series of festive red banners were opened, which read congratulations to Emperor Yi Tian for succeeding as the immortal lord of Beihan. These are all the opinions of the local people. No one is forcing anyone to do it. They are all thoughts from the heart. One can imagine how huge Yi Junline's influence is in the Northern Han immortal realm. Eternal Immortal Sect. It happened that Li Ruotong came to visit today, partly to visit his grandfather, and partly because he wanted to have more contact with that man. On a mountain with a beautiful environment, it is surrounded by greenery and the air is very fresh. The smoke from the barbecue stall curled up, and the rich aroma of meat floated 10 miles away, making some disciples who happened to pass by swallow their saliva and cast longing eyes. Mr. Kanglang was skillfully flipping and grilling a large amount of meat skewers, applying seasonings evenly with quick movements, and occasionally showing a meaningful smile to a man and a woman not far away. His expression was not to mention how vulgar. The big mushroom king who was preparing to carry the plate next to him said with a strange expression, "Fellow Taoist Kanglang, are you okay with your mind?" Kanglang Jun's mouth twitched a few times. Go, I'm in a very good state of mind." "Then why do you always smile like that?" Big Mushroom King tilted his head and asked in confusion. "I was thinking, if my granddaughter and Senior Yi are really together, wouldn't I be able to have a grandson earlier? When it comes to seniority, I will be Senior Yi's grandfather, and he will have to call me grandpa in private." Lord Kanglang chuckled and said secretly, "Ah, this." The Big Mushroom King looked dull, very shocked by the old man's imagination. "No, do you really dare to think about it?" Naturally, the secret conversation between the two could not be hidden from Yi Junline and Li Ruotong. At this time, Li Ruotong's pretty face was so red that it was bleeding, and she felt embarrassed and ashamed inside. "Grandpa, what are you talking about? You really thought we couldn't hear you?" Yi Junline next to him twitched the corner of his mouth, and black lines appeared on his forehead. "You Li Yud, you treat me with respect on the surface, but secretly you want to be my grandfather." Chapter 567. C570 Immortal Lord Yi. Peas. Sorry, I messed up the seniority earlier. It was mainly because I got confused writing it in the middle of the night. It has been changed now. It takes time to follow up the chapters, so please don't worry about this detail. The two sides were silent for a long time, and the atmosphere was so awkward that it made people want to shit. Ahem. After a while, Yi Junline coughed a few times and said as if nothing happened, "Fellow Taoist Li's cultivation has improved recently." He could see that after the previous battle, Li Ruotong's potential was almost stimulated, and he broke the shackles in his body one after another. Now he has reached the 5th level of the Immortal Emperor. To know, the realm of the Immortal Emperor, and every other heaven in the future, will bring about a huge increase in strength. What's more, someone like her, with the immortal crown of great heavenly position, is a very top-notch qualification in the Immortal Emperor level. It can be said that if Li Ruotong faced the previous alien emperors, he would be able to kill them all by himself. Among them, masters like He Ju are included. Certainly. Li Ruotong cannot be as relaxed as Yi Junline. He will definitely be injured in the end, but it is not a big problem. Yes, it was just a lucky break. Li Ruotong said humbly. In front of this man, she, who had always been proud and arrogant, was very restrained. Because she knew that her achievements were nothing compared to the other party. Progress is rapid, Yi Junline said seriously. In fact, he didn't feel it was fast at all, it was just a compliment among friends. After all, Yi Junline can become stronger when he encounters the strong, and he no longer has a clear understanding of the speed of his cultivation. Hearing this compliment, Li Ruotong secretly jumped for joy, as sweet as eating honey. She subconsciously lifted her hair and couldn't help but reveal a charming smile. For a moment, the surrounding scenery was eclipsed, and it seemed that she was the most dazzling in the world. Yi Junlin was slightly stunned. Even he, who was used to seeing beautiful women, was shocked by Li Ruotong's beauty at this moment. What a charming smile. Seeing this man looking at her intently, Li Ruotong's ears turned red and she couldn't help but turn her face away, and her heartbeat sped up inexplicably. Yi Junlin also realized his gaffe, quickly turned his head, and urged behind him angrily, "Xiao Dezi, are you okay?" Coming. With a smile on his face, Mr. Kanglang quickly placed a large handful of fragrant skewers on the plate. Immediately, the big mushroom king came quickly with a plate, which can be said to be a clear division of labor. Yi Junlin picked up a spicy and fragrant skewer, put it to his mouth and ate it. Feeling the tender and crisp texture and the satisfaction of his taste buds, he couldn't help but narrow his eyes slightly. Fellow Taoist Yi, your succession as the immortal Lord of Beihan has been known to the whole world for a long time. I believe that soon the messenger from the immortal court will personally come to present the immortal Lord's official seal. Li Ruotong thought of something and said seriously. Well, unexpectedly, Yi Junlin didn't take it to heart at all, but just ate his own kebabs with a very perfunctory attitude. See this. Li Ruotong was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but smile bitterly. He must be the only one in the world who can remain calm in the face of this power, right? You know, this is the position that many immortal emperors dream of. A immortal and, only this one. Just then, a respectful voice came from outside, passing through the layers of restrictions of the eternal immortal sect, and sounded clearly in everyone's ears. May I ask if His Excellency Yi Tiandi is here? I am an envoy from the immortal courtyard, and I came here specially to give you the official seal of the immortal lord. Boom, the eternal immortal sect was shocked. All the disciples and elders cast surprised glances. I saw a group of colorful auspicious clouds floating over, and standing on it was a middle-aged figure wearing an ancient crown and purple and green robes. There were exquisite cloud patterns embroidered on the skirt, revealing a different kind of majesty. A wide belt is tied around the waist, and a simple token glowing with divine light is worn. It carries the golden word, Shanting, engraved on it, which contains a certain special energy fluctuation. This is the status symbol of people in the immortal garden. No matter where they go, all forces must treat them with respect, because behind them is the supreme immortal court. After all, the immortal court rules everything in the immortal world, and as an envoy of the immortal court, you are naturally blessed by a halo and have a strong sense of superiority. But now, the immortal court envoy is respectful and does not dare to show any condescension. Because what he has to face is a Northern Han immortal lord who is about to take office. There are only 5 immortal lords in the immortal realm, and their status is higher than 99% of Class A immortal officials. Therefore, he must leave a good impression on this new immortal master who is gaining momentum. It's the messenger from immortal court. Everyone exclaimed. I, the ancestor of the eternal immortal sect, have met the envoy. The ancestor of Chengsheng hurriedly greeted him and bowed his hands. The middle-aged messenger glanced at him and nodded. His status is higher than that of ordinary immortal emperors, and a mere immortal lord is really nothing in his eyes. Being able to respond to him is already a great honor. Of course, it was mainly for the sake of the new immortal lord. The longevity ancestor also knew the rules and immediately stepped aside silently. I'm here, come here. Yi Junlin's plain voice came, which made the middle-aged messenger overjoyed and left quickly. On the mountain peak, the middle-aged messenger was stunned. Within the field of vision, a young man with silver hair was leaning on a lounge chair with his legs crossed, holding a bamboo stick in his hand and picking his teeth. It gives people an extremely relaxed feeling, which is very chic and comfortable. The problem is, this is completely different from what he imagined before coming here. To know, the name of Emperor Yi Tian has long been heard by me. No matter how the middle-aged envoy imagined, he felt that the other party would be a majestic figure with unparalleled aura and extremely coldness. As a result, I never expected that he would turn out to be a young man who is free and easy and behaves casually. This is completely opposite to the rumored character image. What are you doing standing still? Don't you want to give me something? Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. The middle-aged envoy reacted, with large beads of sweat spilling from his forehead, and he quickly said with a smile. I'm distracted, I'll give it to you. As he spoke, he took out a noble Qilin official seal, knelt down on one knee respectfully, and presented it with both hands. Yi Junlin stretched out his hand to explore, and the Qilin official seal flew over immediately. He held it in his hand and looked at it out of curiosity. This Kirin official seal has a simple jade quality throughout, with a warm color, as if it contains the essence of heaven and earth. On the surface of the seal, a lifelike Kirin with its head held high and its forehooves stepping on the clouds seems to be about to leap up at any moment. The scales are shining with auspicious sacred light. This is the official seal that belongs exclusively to the Northern Han Immortal Lord and is a symbol of power and status. And once it is officially recognized as the master, it can explode with great power. Not only is its power comparable to a top-grade Immortal Emperor weapon, but it can also control the 9th-grade Taoist formation hidden in this Immortaland. No wonder so many Immortal Emperors aspire to become Immortal Masters. Yi Junlin imprinted his spiritual thoughts into it, and the Kirin official seal immediately released a bright light, revealing an extremely terrifying sense of oppression, covering most of the northern cold immortal territory. In an instant, countless people couldn't help but kneel on the ground, and the idea of wanting to worship appeared in their minds. Congratulations to your excellency for officially becoming the immortal master of Beihan. The middle-aged envoy said respectfully. Fellow Taoist Yi, congratulations. Li Ruotong said enviously. This was the position she had most hoped for before, but now she missed it, and she felt an indescribable feeling in her heart. However, she was not jealous at all, but felt that it was completely reasonable. What a big deal. Yi Junlin played with it for a few times before feeling bored, so he simply put the official seal into the storage ring and left it to gather ashes. Forehead. Everyone was speechless. Isn't this too serious? The middle-aged messenger's mouth twitched a few times, suppressing his inner depression, and said with a smile on his face. Excuse me, Lord Yi Xian, do you have anything else to say? If not, I will go back to the immortal courtyard to give you some orders. Yi Junlin waved his hand. It's okay, you can go. Yes. The middle-aged messenger bowed his hands, turned around and left with a curse. When he was far away, a familiar voice called him from behind. Hey, come all the way here, I'll save this for you to eat on the way, you're welcome. Hearing the voice of Yi Junlin, the middle-aged envoy was startled. He subconsciously turned around to see what was going on, but a golden yellow barbecue skewer flew in front of him, emitting a fragrant smell. The middle-aged messenger caught it smoothly, his eyes widened, and a big question mark appeared on his head. As a noble messenger of the immortal court, he was treated favorably wherever he went. If he was not eating dragon liver and phoenix marrow, he would be eating first-class immortal delicacies. As a result, now, all he can eat is kebabs. This is too shabby. Hey, before, I wouldn't even bother to take a look at this thing. I don't know what this Lord Yi thinks, that he would eat such a thing. The middle-aged envoy said secretly in his heart. But he didn't dare to offend Yi Junlin, so he could only act like he was flattered, said a small thank you to Immortal Yi, and then pretended to eat it with relish. I originally wanted to do it perfunctorily, but as soon as I entered the mouth, my head was so banged that it almost exploded. The taste is unexpectedly good. The meat is crispy and juicy when you bite it. It has a spicy and fragrant feeling, which greatly stimulates the taste buds and makes you feel happy. Before I knew it, I had finished one skewer. The middle-aged envoy was still unfinished and was shocked by this. Come on, why are kebabs so delicious? When he thought about his prejudice just now, he felt extremely ashamed. After I go back, I have to ask the immortal chefs at home to make it for me to try. The middle-aged envoy thought to himself and hurried back impatiently. What he didn't know was that since then he had tasted barbecue skewers from all over the country, but he could never taste barbecue skewers as delicious as today. Even when I was dying, I was still worried about it. Chapter 568. C571 Too early to be happy. Not long after the immortal court envoy left, the news that Yi Junlin officially succeeded as the Northern Cold Immortal Lord quickly spread among the major domains. All the cultivators applauded and were very happy about this. I am really convinced that Yi Tiandi is the Northern Cold Immortal Lord. Look at what you said, anyone who dares to publicly express dissatisfaction will be beaten to death in a minute. Now the 5 great immortal lords of the immortal world are finally complete. Haha, with Immortal Lord Yi here, who dares to underestimate my Northern Cold Immortal Domain from now on? Just when the Northern Cold Immortal Domain was in a boiling state. In the Dongsheng Immortal Domain, one of the many domains, the Qihong Domain, a relatively remote area. A dusty young man walked heavily on the high slope, the soil under his feet was red, even the rocks were red, and even in broad daylight, the sky was rippling with a red halo. His hair was tied up high and fixed with a peachwood hairpin. His skin was delicate and fair. His fox eyes were dim and his handsome face was numb. He should have been a cynical young master, but now he seemed to have suffered a major blow. He became depressed and dejected, and could not recover. If Yi Junlin was here at this time, he would be very surprised to see the young man. Because this young man was none other than the Peach Blossom immortal Bo Chengli. Yes, Bo Chengli is not dead, he is still alive. What was wiped out before was one of his natal clones. After all, Bo Chengli has always been cautious. When he tested Li Ruotong, it was also a clone. Later, he cooperated with the alien immortal emperor. With his temperament, he naturally did not dare to risk revealing his true body. He used a natal clone that he had worked hard to refine over a long period of time. This natal clone inherited almost all of his cultivation and methods. It can be said that it is equivalent to a second self. Even a powerful immortal emperor can't see the flaw. But there is a disadvantage. Once this natal clone is destroyed, his original body will be severely damaged. Therefore, Bo Chengli is no longer a immortal master, but has fallen to the realm of immortal emperor. The successive major blows and all efforts were in vain, which made Bo Chengli's mentality explode and his fighting spirit disappear. He originally thought that he had encountered an opportunity that was rare in the ages. Not only could he control Li Ruotong and avenge his previous shame, but he could also rely on the foreign alien races to dominate the Beihan Immortaland and even the entire Immortaland. Just when he thought everything was going so smoothly and was about to get what he wanted, the man named Yi Tiandi appeared. Not only did he kill more than a dozen foreign immortal emperors in a row, but he even beat the supreme commander and made him flee in panic, causing the foreign coalition forces to suffer a great defeat in the Beihan Immortaland and thus turned defeat into victory. When the news came out, Bo Chengli hid in the dark and trembled with fear. At that moment, he deeply felt what absolute power was. Too strong, really too strong. How could such a terrible strong man exist in this backward Beihan immortal domain? For this reason, Bo Chengli knew that there was no hope of a comeback, so he had to escape from Beihan immortal domain without sleep as a loser. Even if he was lucky enough to save his life, he felt very uncomfortable in his heart, and felt depressed all the time, and his spirit was tortured. The dream was shattered, and the reality was cruel. In addition, during this period, it was reported that Yi Tiandi would take the position of Beihan Immortal Lord, and the immortal world was in a sensation, and the whole world celebrated, which was a great success. This undoubtedly hit Bo Chengli again, and his chest seemed to be pierced by thousands of arrows, and it was so painful that he could hardly breathe. What he least wanted to hear now was any news about Yi Tiandi. It was uncomfortable to hear it. Bo Chengli, who was distraught, deliberately stayed away from the bustling area and came to this uninhabited area. He wanted to start over, but the painful failure he had experienced before had left him with a huge psychological shadow. His faith and spirit had already dispersed, and it was difficult to gather them again. Bo Chengli walked aimlessly with a depressed look on his face. Suddenly, there was an astonishing breath fluctuation from afar. Boom! A huge red light column rose from the ground, piercing the sky with a vast momentum. The sky seemed to be pierced and appeared to be in pieces. Then, a terrifying breath of cultivation spread like a tide, which frightened Bo Chengli in the distance, and his hair stood on end. He was very familiar with this breath. Someone had broken through to the Immortal Venerable. Immortal Venerable, to this day, is still a first-class strong man in the immortal realm, and is a highly respected existence wherever he is placed. Even in many places in the immortal realm, it is as high as a god, and is at the level of the founder of a sect. Bo Chengli felt very bad. He used to be a highly skilled immortal, but now he can only live as an immortal emperor. It is very difficult to recover to the peak. Hey, I'd better go around, don't let that guy find me, I might be slapped to death. Bo Chengli sighed. The immortal world is a place where the strong prey on the weak and people are treacherous. You never know what kind of face a strange strong man you accidentally bump into will show to the weak. Those who treat you with contempt and disdain are considered to be relatively good. The most feared thing is to meet those who regard human life as worthless and kill you on a whim. Therefore, for safety reasons, Bo Chengli decided to take a detour, unwilling to add to the trouble. However, at this moment, the huge red beam of light gradually dissipated, revealing a charming and stunning figure in red. In Bo Chengli's field of vision, the woman in red was breathtakingly beautiful, wearing a bright-colored robe, with her skirt dancing in the wind. Every inch of her skin was white and smooth, her collarbone was perfect, and her figure was as slender as a willow. Her face was even more breathtakingly beautiful, with a flame-shaped scarlet mark between her eyebrows, adding a different kind of temptation. At this time, the woman in red had a calm expression, her long black hair danced freely, and her temperament was unmatched. She was like a blooming flame flower in the sky, as if the whole world was formed for her, and all living beings were fascinated by her. Seeing this, even Bo Chengli, who had seen countless women, was stunned at this moment. What a beautiful face, especially with a domineering temperament, like a peerless empress who swept across the world and suppressed the world. If you can conquer such a woman, just thinking about it will give you a sense of accomplishment. At first, Bo Chengli subconsciously thought that the one who was promoted to the realm of immortal venerable was a man. Unexpectedly, it was a woman of peerless beauty. Bo Chengli was immediately excited and couldn't help but have evil thoughts. Although his cultivation fell to the realm of immortal emperor, his attainments in yin-yang siphon were still there, and he could still control a female cultivator who was one realm higher than him. Now, the opportunity has come. Poor Bo Chengli, he didn't know that the woman in red he was obsessed with was actually a man. What's more unfortunate is that the other party has an identity, that is, the eldest disciple of his enemy Yi Tiandi. That's right, this person is Hong Chenyi. Chapter 569. C572 Confident Bo Chengli. At this time, Hong Chenyi's sleeves fluttered, becoming the most eye-catching scenery between heaven and earth. Her impeccable face was calm. Feeling the earth-shaking changes in her body, a slightly complacent arc appeared at the corner of her mouth. Is this the power of the immortal venerable? Hong Chenyi's heart was not as calm as it seemed, because this was the level he had longed to reach before, and now it has finally been achieved. Since ascending to the immortal world, he has separated from his master and others, and wandered around the Dongsheng immortal realm alone, looking for opportunities to improve himself. Due to his outstanding appearance, many unnecessary troubles occurred during this period, but he used his powerful strength and cruel means to settle them one by one. While deterring the villains, he also became famous and officially entered the eyes of major forces and was highly valued. As his reputation became more and more famous, all the cultivators in the Dongsheng immortal realm heard that an immortal in red with stunning appearance and cold temperament had appeared out of nowhere. Not only is his image outstanding, but he is also extremely powerful. He has defeated many old generation masters, and his moves are ruthless and his wrists are extremely tough. He is a peerless genius who has recently emerged. In this regard, Hong Chenyi also emphasized to the outside world at the beginning that he is a man, but unfortunately the effect is minimal, and less than 30% of the cultivators believe his words. Most people did not take it seriously, thinking it was a rumor, or thinking that Hong Chenyi was deliberately teasing them. After all, they did not believe that there was such a natural beauty in the world with such a beautiful face. Seeing that clarification was useless, Hong Chenyi simply did not bother to explain, and wandered around the Dongsheng immortal and under the name of the Red Immortal. Because his existence was too dazzling, he was a rising star, which led to many forces throwing olive branches to him, wanting to bring him under his command. But with Hong Chenyi's temperament, how could he join? Naturally, he ignored it and continued to wander around, concentrating on practicing and improving his cultivation. Therefore, he also offended some big shots with strong self-esteem, who either secretly tripped him up or suppressed him openly, trying to force him to surrender and submit. As the saying goes, when you are famous, you will have more troubles. Those who caused trouble to Hong Chenyi were not only those hostile superiors, but also many second-generation immortals who coveted his beauty. Among them, some wanted to rely on their strong financial resources to offer a sky-high price to lure Hong Chenyi to accompany them for a night. Some did not hesitate to lower their status and pursue Hong Chenyi shamelessly, and some sent various masters to suppress Hong Chenyi and take him as a male lover. Faced with various threats, Hong Chenyi had a strong mentality, and he practiced hard while countering them. Born in the magic way, he is well versed in human nature. He first used a trick to make the second generation of immortals suspicious of each other and fight for him. Later, he used sinister means to threaten the weaknesses of some famous and upright monks and turned them into internal supporters to pass on information to himself. In this way, a dead end surrounded by enemies was revived by Hong Chenyi. Later, Hong Chenyi wandered among the major forces, constantly improving his cultivation, and officially entered the vision of some immortal masters. The increase in influence corresponds to a greater threat. In the process, many immortal masters began to be very interested in him and wanted to suppress and subdue him. Now, Hong Chenyi felt bad. He could indeed fight against an immortal master, but he could not withstand the actions of multiple immortal masters. In order to avoid trouble, Hong Chenyi decided to leave the crowded place and sneak into a more remote and less famous domain. That is now the Qihong domain. The Qihong domain is a domain that ranks low in the Dongsheng immortal domain. Currently, there are only 2 immortals in charge. Seeing that the time is ripe, Hong Chenny began to secretly develop believers of the fire worship demon cult. With his means and strong personal charm, he quickly attracted a large number of demon monks who were willing to serve him wholeheartedly. Under the leadership of Hong Chenny, the fire worship demon cult quickly unified the demon forces in the Qihong immortal domain and was able to challenge the two strongest righteous forces. And those two righteous forces were respectively ruled by the two immortals. One is called Tianyuan Holy Land, and the other is called Taya Holy Land. Originally, the two holy places jointly dominated the Qihong domain, and their lives were very comfortable. As a result, the fire worship demon cult, a demon force, appeared, and the two holy places woke up from their dreams and realized that they had ushered in an unprecedented huge threat. In anger, the two holy places joined forces and raised troops to jointly encircle and suppress the fire worship demon cult. Even the two immortal ancestors behind him personally took action and led the Holy Land army to frantically clean up the scattered strongholds of the fire worship demon cult, determined to uproot this behemoth. After rapid annexation and expansion, the fire worship demon cult's sphere of influence has already spread across most of the Qihong Great Domain, but even so, it could not withstand this fierce encirclement and suppression. The original tens of thousands of branches were almost swept away, causing the demonic forces that had just been unified not long ago to fall apart in an instant. Just when the outside world thought that the fire worship demon cult would be destroyed and the mysterious leader had already fled. In fact, Hong Chenny led a group of core members to secretly come to this extremely remote small place, and during this period of time, he was dormant and avoided the sharp edge. Hong Chenny knew that with his strength, he could indeed compete with the immortals, but according to his understanding, the two immortals in the Qihong Great Domain were both experienced and powerful veterans with profound cultivation and many means. If he acts rashly, the gains may outweigh the losses. The only way to break the impasse is for him to break through to the immortal lord level. Master, now that the two holy places are besieging us, what should the fire demon cult do? That day, facing the worries of his subordinates, Hong Chenny stood with his hands behind his back and smiled calmly. It's very simple, I will become a venerable, right? Then, Hong Chenny turned around and entered a cave he had just opened up. With the insights and accumulation during this period, he was finally promoted to the realm of immortal venerable today. At this moment, Hong Chenny's aura was no longer concealed, and his cultivation of immortal venerable was released, alarming the subordinates guarding nearby. When they saw the master showing the posture of immortal venerable, this group of core members were so excited that their eyes were filled with tears. They knelt down and worshipped, shouting, "Congratulations to the master for achieving the position of immortal venerable. From now on, the fire demon cult will be immortal and rule the 4 seas and 8 wildernesses." Their combined voices shook the earth and reached the ears of Bo Chengli in the distance. Bo Chengli's heart moved and his face showed joy. Could it be that this woman is the leader of a demon cult? In this case, wouldn't controlling this woman be equivalent to controlling this so-called Zoroastrian demon cult? The more Bo Chengli thought about it, the happier he became. His heart, which was previously filled with gloom, suddenly seemed to be illuminated by a ray of dawn, giving rise to a new hope and motivation. That's right. His life's counterattack, a strong turnaround, started from controlling that woman in red. Then, Bo Chengli sneaked over and began to perform the yin-yang siphon technique, invisibly affecting Hong Chenny's spirit. Get up, everyone, you have worked hard during this period. Hong Chenny restrained the aura of cultivation on his body, and his pair of iconic phoenix eyes flashed with divine light, making it difficult to look directly at him. Thank you, leader. Hearing this, all the subordinates were very moved, like devout believers meeting a god, with expressions full of admiration. On the one hand, they were impressed by the other's strength, and on the other hand, they were more obsessed with their appearance. Moreover, Hong Chenny, who became an immortal, had a more outstanding temperament. They were so excited when they saw him that they wanted to give everything for him. This is the price of being a beauty lover. Master, you have made a breakthrough now. It's time for the 2 holy places to pay the price. Yes, I can't bear this humiliation. As long as the master gives an order, we will immediately call on the believers lurking in various places to launch a counterattack against the 2 holy places. The crowd was excited and ready to do a big job. These days, they have been hiding from place to place and suffered a lot of humiliation. Now that Hong Chenny has become an immortal, the fire worship demon sect has the capital to turn the tables, so they are eager to turn the tables and kill the spirit of the 2 holy places. Hearing this, Hong Chenny sneered, "From the moment I became an immortal, it foreshadowed the failure of the 2 holy places. The victory will eventually belong to my fire worship demon sect." The tone was firm and contained an unquestionable tone. That's right, Hong Chenny was going to suppress the two senior and experienced old immortals at the same time. This was an absolute confidence in strength. The subordinates were stunned at first, and then they excitedly bowed and said, "The leader is so powerful, we admire him." Just as Hong Chenny was about to leave to end this farce, he suddenly sensed a hint of a hidden breath approaching. Who? Hong Chenny's eyes flashed coldly, and he waved his sleeves. At the same time, a figure was uncontrollably rolled over and fell heavily in front of everyone. "Boy, who are you?" A group of subordinates glared with anger, and surrounded him with murderous faces. Looking at this group of fierce and evil demon masters, Bo Chengli felt a little panic in his heart. But when he looked at Hong Chenny, his heart was suddenly calm. "An ant-like thing dares to spy on me." Hong Chenny regarded Bo Chengli as a spy of the Holy Land, and was going to use means to force him to reveal relevant information. Unexpectedly, the other party was not afraid at all, and even stared at him directly, with a wicked smile on the corner of his mouth, as if he had him in his grasp. Bo Chengli frantically urged his skills, staring at the beauty in red as if he was looking at prey, with his chest raised and his head raised with full confidence and a playful smile. "This beautiful immortal, from today on you are my personal maid, why don't you kneel down quickly and thank me for my appreciation of you?" As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was silent. Window. _Taboola equals window. _Taboola. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Taboola below article feed. Placement. Below article feed. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 570. C573 will love you well. All the subordinates were stunned, looking at Bo Chengli in disbelief, their mouths opened wide, as if they could fit an ostrich egg. "No, how dare you? Are you crazy?" Hong Chenny almost suspected that he had heard wrongly, and his beautiful face fell into a stagnation, and then a huge anger rose in his heart, his eyes became very scary, staring at Bo Chengli, and said coldly, "Do you know what you are saying?" He was really angry, a kind of anger he had never felt since he came to the immortal world. A mere immortal emperor dared to come and provoke him. And he was so shameless to say such humiliating remarks. Hong Chenny was almost overwhelmed by anger, but the only remaining trace of reason kept him awake and began to think about the other party's intentions. Could it be that this guy was mentally ill and deliberately came to die? Bo Chengli frowned. No, according to this time, the other party should show a cheap and stupid look, and obey him unconditionally. After all, with his skills, it should be easy to take down a female cultivator of the immortal venerable level. Why is it still ineffective now? Bo Chengli forced himself to stay calm while frantically urging his skills. His forehead began to sweat, and a frivolous smile hung on the corners of his mouth. "This immortal, don't you have any interest in me? Stop pretending, hurry up." Quote. Everyone was confused. Is this man really sick? Who gave him the confidence? Hong Chenny's eye muscles twitched, and he felt very absurd. He saw that this was a big idiot who was overconfident. He thought he was very charming, and any woman would fall in love with him. Seeing this scene, Bo Chengli felt bad, and asked cautiously and tentatively, "You really don't have any feelings when you see me? Don't you even have a little feeling of love for me?" He began to seriously doubt whether the skills he was proud of had failed. "Why should I fall in love with you? Also, I am a man." Hong Chenny sneered. Male. Bo Chengli was stunned, and then he was shocked. His expression was unbelievable, and his pupils were shaking violently. What? The leader is a man? The core members looked at each other, with astonishment in their eyes. They thought that the leader was a woman. But it doesn't matter, anyway, they are obsessed with her appearance. Gender is not important. When hearing Hong Chenny's words, no one can imagine how shocked and deeply frightened Bo Chengli was. "You look like this, and you tell me you are a man. The problem is, from the appearance, you are no different from a woman." Bo Chengli didn't expect that he would not be able to tell whether someone is a man or a woman after seeing countless women in his life. In fact, it's not his fault that he made a mistake, but Hong Chenny's image is too confusing and deceptive. First of all, let's put aside the beautiful face. Let's talk about other aspects. His figure is as thin as a willow in the wind, slender and tall, with fair and shiny skin, which is so delicate that it can be broken by a blow. How many girls envy him for this? In addition, Hong Chenny's voice tends to be cold. Once you hear her voice, you will think of a neutral style, capable and shrewd woman. The most important thing is that his larynx is not obvious. It can even be said that if you don't get it right, you can't feel the existence of the larynx. Therefore, anyone who looks at his overall image will subconsciously think that this is a woman in red with a cold temperament. If it were in Yi Junline's previous life, this would be called the innate superb male-female holy body. At this time, Bo Chengli, who finally understood why the skills were ineffective, felt a huge fear and regret in his heart. Just now, he actually said that to a powerful immortal master as an immortal emperor. This is going to die. Bo Chengli didn't have time to be embarrassed, because he felt that he was going to be cold, and this time he was really finished. After all, this is his real body, not his previous clone. Feeling the temperature around him getting lower and lower, Bo Chengli's hair stood on end, a chill spread all over his body, his scalp almost burst, his whole body was shaking uncontrollably, and he felt like peeing. Please, please spare my life, Your Excellency. I didn't mean it, I was just confused for a moment. Please have mercy on me. Bo Chengli collapsed and knelt on the ground to beg for mercy. He was not as confident and calm as before, and his spirits were high. Everyone looked at him as if he was mentally retarded. So you also know how to be afraid? We all thought you were here to die on purpose. Hong Chenny smiled, a chilling smile, came to the other party and looked down at him, with a hint of teasing in his tone. Haha, I still appreciate your confidence before, keep going, don't stop. Seeing the other party smiling at him, Bo Chengli suddenly felt scared, and the great fear was like a flood raging in his body. But a trace of desire to survive made him unwilling to give up. Your Majesty, you are joking. Are you still hiring? I am willing to make amends for my mistakes and go through fire and water for you. Bo Chengli was desperate and asked to join the sect, even if it meant working like a slave. Dream on. Everyone looked at him with contempt and sneered. Your kid insulted the great leader in public. Even if it was a misunderstanding from beginning to end, the crime has been established. It's hard for you to survive. Why do you still want to join the cult to make up for it? Bah, I want to eat shit. Okay, I agree. Hong Chenny narrowed her eyes slightly and looked at Bo Chengli carefully, as if he was looking at a toy. Her smile contained a deep meaning that would be terrifying if she thought about it carefully. What? All the subordinates were shocked. The leader would actually show mercy to such a person. Thank you, Master, for your kindness. I can't thank you enough. Bo Chengli kowtowed excitedly to express his gratitude. But for some reason, he always felt that the way the other person looked at him made him feel like something bad was going to happen. Tisk, you're happy too early. Hong Chenny smiled playfully and tapped it gently with one finger. Buzz buzz. A terrifying force instantly penetrated Bo Chengli's body, forming a shackle to seal his cultivation. Bo Chengli's expression changed, cold sweat slid down his face, and he asked anxiously, Teacher, Master, you have sealed my cultivation, how can I do things for you? The more he thought about it, the more frightened he became. With his cultivation level sealed, he only had the body of an immortal emperor, but he could not exert the power of the immortal emperor. Any minions could overwhelm him and beat him, which made him feel very insecure. Looking at you, you must have been courting others before, right? Then you must be in need of love. As the leader of the church, I will take special care of you. Don't worry, there will be many male members behind, who will love you well in the days to come. There was a smile in Hong Chenny's eyes, but she spat out cold and biting words, which contained an extremely huge amount of information. Boom! Bo Chengli's head almost exploded, goosebumps appeared all over his skin, and his back felt cold. He is not a fool and naturally knows what this means. Let a group of men love him. Wouldn't that mean? Think of this. A look of panic appeared on Bo Chengli's face, and he begged for mercy in horror. Leader, please don't joke with me, I really can't bear this kind of love. Leader. All the subordinates were suddenly stunned, thinking that the leader was still powerful. Bo Chengli crawled to Hong Chenny's feet like a dog and begged humbly, Leader, please let me go. I really know I was wrong. Hong Chenny kicked him away and said in disgust, Don't you really want love? Now that I want you to be loved enough, you actually dare to refuse. Aha! A majestic killing intent descended on his body, and Bo Chengli shuddered, feeling a mixture of despair and fear in his heart. He couldn't imagine what terrible days would be waiting for him later. Come here, take him down and lock him up first. I will leave in person. When I return, everything will be settled. Benny Chenny took out a half-parted silver mask, revealing only a straight nose, bright red lips, and a graceful jaw. Even so, not only does it retain its charm, but it also adds a haunting sense of mystery. He can show his true face in front of his trusted subordinates, but if he appears in the outside world and has countless pairs of eyes staring at him, he has to be on guard. After all, his identity in Dongsheng Immortal Domain is very sensitive. In this immortal realm, immortal lords are not the ceiling. It is said that there are as many as a dozen immortal emperors alone. So, it's better to be careful. I will send you off to the leader. All the subordinates said respectfully, suppressing the excitement and anticipation in their hearts. Aha! Hong Chenyi's body turned into a red rainbow and disappeared into the distant sky. Leader, leader, Bo Chengli broke down and cried. He really regretted why he had to come to this place where no one shits and wander around. It's okay now, I encountered such bad luck. Hey, stop barking. A tall man with an evil aura all over his body and a sinister face had a heavy black iron chain on his hand, which he threw around Bo Chengli's neck. Aha! Bo Chengli struggled hard, but to no avail. His face turned the color of pig liver, his eyes popped out, and his legs kept kicking. Then, like a dead dog, he was roughly dragged on the ground by the backbone member. This kid will suffer the consequences in the future. Haha, who could have made him such an idiot to dare to provoke the leader? He deserves this kind of punishment. When the fire worship demon cult rises again, the number of followers will definitely increase immediately. By then, there will probably be many men who want to try this style of his. Tisk, tisk, let me see, he will suffer the same consequences later. Looking at Bo Chengli who was being dragged further and further away, everyone present was talking with sarcasm and joking. No, don't. Bo Chengli was strangled to the point of suffocation, his eyes gradually turned white, and his heart was filled with deep helplessness and despair. Who would have thought that when he gained power in the northern cold immortal realm, he used his skills to enslave countless female cultivators and cuckold many of his male compatriots. He was so romantic and cheerful, trampling on the dignity of others. Warm reminder. If you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error, or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 571, C574 Hong Chenyi's Ambition. A few days later, the two Holy Lands siege against the fire worship demon cult came to a sudden halt. According to rumors, the two immortal ancestors of Tianyuan Holy Land and Taya Holy Land were suppressed by a leader who claimed to be the fire worship demon cult. Witnesses saw that the leader was dressed in red and wearing a half-silver mask. In the blink of an eye, endless world-destroying flames burst out and burned the sky for billions of miles. The two immortal ancestors fought hard, but were easily defeated. Among them, the ancestor of Tianyuan Holy Land was unwilling to surrender and was burned to death on the spot, his soul was scattered. The ancestor of Taya Holy Land was scared to death and quickly led all the monks to kneel down and surrender, saying that they would follow the lead of the fire worship demon cult in the future. So far, the dispute has settled. In the future, all forces will be ruled by the fire worship demon cult, regard this church as their master, and pay tribute regularly. No one expected it. In this Qihong domain, the magic path has entered an unprecedented heyday. Even many cultivators who were originally righteous are eager to join the magic path and are proud to join the fire worship demon cult. Who let the fire worship demon cult be the first force in the Qihong domain? The powerful leader is second to none, and all the strong men are breathless. No one knows what the real name of the leader is and where he comes from. Since we know, the leader calls himself Chizan. Soon, after crazy expansion and losing the constraints and suppression of the two holy places, the scale of the fire worship demon cult is far greater than before, and the believers are all over the Qihong domain. They built statues of the leader in many places, held regular worship activities, and worship the statues of the leader. Over time, the power of faith was formed. The power of faith has many wonderful uses. First, it can assist practice through refining, and second, it can bless oneself to improve strength, similar to the national destiny. It is worth mentioning that the higher the level of cultivation, the stronger the power of faith. Moreover, this is still the immortaland, and the lowest level of true immortals are only qualified to do odd jobs and run errands. There is no doubt that Hong Chenyi has become the biggest beneficiary of this fight. Fire worship demon cult headquarters. A magnificent and majestic palace stands majestically on the immortal mountain, and it seems that even the sun and the moon in the sky are revolving around it. Around the palace, there are monks wearing church clothes, stationed at fixed points or patrolling. The deepest part of the palace. There is a row of high stairs that are made of various rare materials and flashing amazing divine light. At the end of the stairs, there is a blood-red throne that symbolizes supreme power, with an indescribable evil and tyranny. At this time, a red-clothed figure sits on the throne, supporting his head with one hand, and his sitting posture looks very casual. Because of the half-silver mask, the whole face cannot be seen, but the exposed jaw is enough to arouse people's imagination, adding a bit of evil charm. Congratulations to the leader for successfully controlling the Qihong domain. Below, a group of core members said respectfully. Looking up at the red figure sitting on the throne, their faces were full of enthusiasm. Hong Chenny said lightly, taking over this small place is just the first step in my plan. When the church is completely stable, I will start to preach to other domains, and you will be busy then. His ambition is not limited to this. He wants to make the fire worship demon cult bigger and stronger, and bloom everywhere in the Dongsheng immortal domain. In this way, he can gain an unimaginable amount of faith power and better search for cultivation resources that are beneficial to him. We are willing to die for the leader, no matter what. The subordinates vowed. They were also eager to make great strides in the future and expand the base of the fire worship demon cult to multiple large domains. Ku Hong, Hong Chenny said, the old slave is here. The man called Ku Hong was an old man with white hair. He looked like an immortal, with fluttering clothes, just like a hermit. At this moment, he stood up and looked at the red figure on the throne, with a bitter look on his lips. Ku Hong was the ancestor of Taya Holy Land, and he called himself Wensheng Immortal Venerable. His cultivation reached the 6th level of Immortal Venerable, and the number of laws exceeded 10 million. He was definitely a leader in the realm of Immortal Venerable. As a result, he was defeated by a newly promoted Immortal Venerable, and he was defeated even when he joined forces with the ancestor of Tianyuan Holy Land. Thinking of that day, the other party waved his hand to cast a lotus-shaped world-destroying flame, and the terrifying sense of oppression, he felt lingering fear and dry mouth. It was that move that ruthlessly crushed him and the ancestor of Tianyuan Holy Land. Ku Hong will never forget that the ancestor of Tianyuan Holy Land was unwilling to be branded with the soul, and was eventually burned to ashes by the opponent's terrifying magic flames, and his soul flew away. That kind of shrill scream still lingers in his mind, and he was so scared that he couldn't recover for many days. You know, the ancestor of Tianyuan Holy Land is his biggest competitor in this life. The two have been fighting openly and secretly in the Qihong Great Domain for a long, long time. However, such a strong man who was on par with him was tortured to death by the leader, which undoubtedly gave him a great mental shock at the time. It's terrible. Why would such a terrifying monster be born in this unknown Qihong Great Domain? After being branded with the soul, Ku Hong became Hong Chenny's slave, and from then on he was always available at his beck and call, and dared not disobey at all. Go to Tianyuan Holy Land. I heard that since their ancestor died, they have been very resistant to my fire worship demon sect. You should know that I am already magnanimous enough and did not kill them all. But my patience is limited. You go immediately and kill all those who do not listen to my advice. The rest should either surrender to my fire worship demon sect or die. Hong Chenny ordered in an unquestionable tone. He felt that his temper had improved a lot. If he had not become a disciple, he would have directly eradicated the hostile forces and killed them all. But now, he can allow that group of people to consider for a while before making plans. However, his patience is limited. He will never allow a group of monks who want to resist all the time and think they are righteous under the rule of the fire worship demon sect. If there are, just wipe them out. Hearing the implication, Ku Hong trembled in his heart, and quickly bowed his head and said yes, and disappeared on the spot. If you have nothing to report, please leave. Hong Chenny said. Master, according to your order, the daring man has been imprisoned in Longyang Pavilion. I believe there will be many believers who come here to take good care of him. The voice of a subordinate paused slightly and emphasized. Hearing this, the core members present all showed meaningful smiles, mixed with a little gloating. Well, remember, don't let him commit suicide. I want to let this arrogant guy taste the feeling of being madly loved. Thinking of Bo Chengli, Hong Chenny sneered. Yes. Everyone retreated respectfully. Looking at the empty hall, Hong Chenny, sitting on the throne, sighed, and his eyes flashed with reminiscence. A while ago, he knew that his master was in the Beihan immortal domain, and he heard that he had killed more than a dozen alien immortal emperors in the name of Yi Tiandi, suppressed the demon cave with absolute strength, and now he was canonized as the Beihan immortal lord, and was feared by the immortal world. In the past, Hong Chenny must have been eager to go back to that man. Because according to past experience, as long as he stayed with that man, he would be absolutely safe and there would be no external threats. But now, he asked himself in his heart, did he really want to be protected by his master all the time? No, he wanted to rely on his own strength to open up a new world outside. Taking over the Qihong domain is just the starting point. Later, the fire worship demon cult will expand to the entire Dongsheng immortal domain and become the strongest top force. And he will also use this power as the best shortcut to improve his cultivation. This is Hong Chenyi's goal. He wants to return to that man in the future with a brand new attitude. Longyang Pavilion. This is a special place newly built by the fire worship demon cult. It is used to help male believers vent. The one who endured it was not a gorgeous young lady, but a handsome young man with delicate skin and tender flesh. On the top of the attic, the incense burner was filled with curling smoke, which seemed to have a special smell that could make people indulge in it. Poor Bo Chengli was naked, tied up with a red rope in the form of a tortoise shell, lying on the ground in a strange and prominent posture, with fear in his eyes. He was very scared that a man would come up to him. However, footsteps sounded outside. Warm reminder. If you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error, or contact us at the bottom to let us know. We will deal with it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 572. C575. This is retribution. The most feared thing happened. Bo Chengli looked frightened. His whole body was trembling slightly, his eyes were fixed on the direction of the door, beads of sweat slid down his cheeks, and he swallowed hard. Don't come in, don't come in. He kept praying in his heart. Unfortunately, it backfired. The elegant door was pushed open. A tall and muscular bald man with muscles as gnarled as steel, a sinister face, arms covered in tattoos, walked in with a ferocious aura. After he came in, he looked a little curious. When his eyes fell on Bo Chengli, who was bound by a tortoise shell, his eyes suddenly lit up, as if he had discovered a new world. Look what I found, a seductive little beauty. The bald man walked forward step by step, with a very arrogant smile on his lips, and his eyes were shining, as if he was examining his prey. Bo Chengli couldn't stand this kind of look, and felt angry inside, so he quickly explained. Brother, are you mistaken? I am a man. The bald man stuck out his scarlet tongue and licked his lips back and forth, as if he was preparing to taste a delicious snack, and said meaningfully. What do you think labor and management are here for? As soon as these words came out, Bo Chengli felt like falling into an ice cellar, sending chills all over his body. Immediately, he shouted in a panic, if you dare to lay a finger on me, I will fight with you. We will fight to the death. The bald man sneered and said, I know you are an immortal emperor, but your cultivation has long been sealed by the leader. Not to mention that you are now bound by the immortal binding rope. Even if there is no immortal binding rope, I can't help you. Even if they can suppress you, what can you do to fight against labor and capital? As he said that, he reached over, held up Bo Chengli's chin, and looked at it carefully for a moment. The more he looked at it, the more satisfied he became. This little one is really good looking. I like it very much. Even though Bo Chengli is a scumbag, the top scum among scumbag men, his appearance is like that of a young man, and he is very deceptive. He has a handsome face, a pair of beautiful fox eyes, a slender figure, and delicate and fair skin. This one is definitely a group favorite. The bald man's hands became restless. Get out, don't touch me. Bo Chengli felt very sick and nauseous, and his body kept swaying in resistance. But the more he did this, the more excited the bald man became, and his inner desire to conquer was suddenly aroused. Don't touch me, don't touch me. Bo Chengli roared in grief and anger. Snap, a heavy slap sounded, echoing in the wing. You, Bo Chengli's cheeks were so painful that he felt even more humiliated. He was so angry that his whole body was shaking. Fuck, what are you pretending to be when riding a horse? You are just a plaything imprisoned in Longyang Pavilion. The bald man had a sinister smile on his face. He exerted force on his arm and all his clothes were shattered. He stood there naked. At the same time, there is also a raised silver gun wax head. Don't worry, the fun is about to begin. The bald man smiled ferociously, stretched out his big hand, grabbed Bo Chengli's head, and pressed it roughly to the floor. This moment, Bo Chengli knew what was going to happen next. The fear and despair in his heart were infinitely amplified. Because he was too scared, his whole body was trembling. His eyes were filled with mist, and 2 lines of tears slid down his cheeks. No, please let me go, please let me go. As long as you don't do that, I can do whatever you want. Please, woo-woo. Bo Chengli felt his self-esteem was broken, his dignity was trampled on, and endless humiliation swept through his body. When he thought of the victims who had been destroyed in his hands, he could finally empathize with them. At the beginning, no matter how aloof the immortal was, she would have to kneel in front of him like a bitch and let him control her. No matter how congenial the immortal couple was, they would be torn apart by him forcefully and part ways. Now, retribution has come. However, Bo Chengli's crying and begging for mercy will only increase the other party's excitement level. The next second, the bald man's joking voice sounded clearly behind him. Hey, I'm big, please bear with me. Soon. A heartbreaking sound came from the wing, echoing continuously in the attic corridor. At the same time, the Shira world far away in the vast universe. This is the ancestral star of the Juyu Supreme Clan. It is home to the most fearless and fearless people in the entire starry sky. They are a group of powerful beings at the top of the pyramid. Known as the Asura clan. In the Shira realm, there were originally 6 holy kingdoms. Later, due to internal fighting over the long years, only the 4 strongest holy kingdoms remain to this day. The Holy Kingdom of Vastu is the first of the 4 holy kingdoms. It can be said that it has abundant military strength and strong national power. But not long ago, there was a scandal in the Holy Kingdom of Bigyu. Rosa, the most beloved little princess, was suspected of being impregnated by a human native when she led a coalition of 3 tribes into the immortal world for a trial. When this news spread, the 4 holy kingdoms were shocked, and the entire Asura clan felt unbelievable. How is this possible? How could that little princess, who was said to be the most gifted in talisman formations in a million years, be made pregnant by a native of the human race in the immortal world? Especially the vast number of young talents who admire Rosa said they couldn't accept it and were going crazy. Suddenly, public opinion arose. All kinds of overwhelming offensive remarks poured into the Holy Kingdom of Vastu like a tide, directed at Rosa herself. Even though Rosa was a princess and the daughter of the leader of the Asura clan, she could not avoid being criticized verbally and writtenly after this kind of thing came out. Because if it is true, this is a shame for the entire Asura clan. What about the princess? Still have to be flushed. It was not until a few days ago that the public opinion gradually improved. Thanks to Rosa's father's great energy, he personally invited some highly respected elders in the clan to jointly issue a statement. It was claimed that Rosa's belly did not detect a trace of life fluctuations, and that it was due to some kind of evil magic native to the immortal world that caused the illusion of pregnancy. Once this statement was issued, everyone reluctantly accepted it. Although there are still some voices of doubt, they are insignificant compared to the mainstream public. Fortunately, the direction of public opinion has changed, pointing the finger at the immortal world. In the Asura world, countless male Asuras who admired Rosa felt resentful towards the culprit who caused all this, and they cursed one after another. The abominable natives of the immortal world actually resorted to such despicable methods. Why don't you let us just send out troops and flatten that low-class and backward little world? That human race who persecuted Princess Rosa is so shameless. Both female and male Asuras were filled with indignation over this incident and felt deeply disgusted by the attackers' tactics. This method is really disgusting. They can't wait to get rid of it quickly. In the elegant bedroom, the curtains flutter. The atmosphere was depressing and dull. The maids lowered their heads, trembling with fear. These days, they lived very anxiously and uneasily, fearing that they might offend the noble little princess. After all, since that incident, Her Royal Highness's temperament has become very irritable, and she often gets angry over trivial things, which makes them, the servants, very scared. Trash, you are all a bunch of trash. If we can't find a solution now, I will let my father kill you all. Deep in the dormitory, a little Lolita with pink hair and twin tails and a big belly swept away the bottles and cans on the table with her hand, staring at a pair of big eyes like Kazilan, and said angrily. A group of old imperial doctors were so frightened that they knelt down and kowtowed, pleading, "Your Highness, please spare your life. We have tried our best. Bah, the medicine you prepared is useless at all. It is bitter and unpalatable. I have really had enough. You are deliberately torturing me. I want my father to kill you all." Rosa said angrily, "It's unjust, Your Highness the princess is unjust." A group of old imperial doctors complained endlessly. They also couldn't understand why Rosa's belly was so big. Even the powerful men from the Holy Realm couldn't resolve it at all. Now even taking medicine didn't work, but they were worried to death. At this moment, a sonorous and powerful male voice sounded, which contained an unquestionable meaning. "It has nothing to do with you here, please get down." A tall figure wearing dark golden armor appeared, walking towards him with a dragon's pace and a look of arrogance on his body. The aura released is very powerful, like an undefeated god of war. Seeing this, all the maids bent down and said respectfully, "I have seen the eldest prince." The visitor is none other than the eldest Prince Luo Yan, Rosa's biological brother. Chapter 573. C576 You deserve to lose. The moment Luo Yan came in, everyone left the scene as if they had been granted amnesty. Brother, get out, I don't want you to see me like this. Rosa was so angry that she stamped her feet, her eyes filled with mist and tears shone. Luo Yan's heart tightened. He knew that his sister must have suffered a lot during this period. After all, with the public opinion swirling around and the strange looks from people around her, what girl wouldn't collapse? The most frightening thing is that the symptoms of the big belly have not gone away for a long time. It is strange that I can stay calm. Therefore, Luo Yan heard that Rosa was not feeling well, and after much thought, he still felt that he had to pay a visit. Little sister, don't worry. How are you feeling now? Are there any signs of improvement? Luo Yan walked up to him, reached out to wipe the tears from his sister's eyes, and asked softly. Rosa touched her belly. After a moment of silence, she said truthfully, I feel a little smaller than before. If I want to return to normal, it will probably take about a year. That's good, it's still within the acceptable range. Luo Yan let out a long sigh of relief. For monks like them, about a year passed in the blink of an eye. After hearing this, Rosa suddenly became unhappy. What do you mean it's acceptable? I don't want to experience it at all. How can I go out with a big belly? You know, at first I thought that when I returned to the clan, my father and clan elders would be able to do something about it, but in the end, everyone was helpless and it almost made me mad. Rosa felt really bad. Although she felt very panicked and embarrassed when she was initially attacked, she still believed that as long as she returned to her clan and used the methods of the powerful saints, she would definitely be able to resolve this weird symptom. However, it backfired. Even his father and clan elders couldn't get rid of this strange symptom. It's like it has to be experienced firsthand until this situation disappears completely. In response to this, Rosa's mentality exploded. When she thought about having to recuperate in this palace with a pregnant belly during this period, with her lively and active temperament, she felt that life was worse than death. Later, she was stubborn and ordered the imperial doctor to give her medicine, but it had no effect at all. Until now, Rosa suspected that this was a nightmare, but every time she touched her bulging belly, she realized that it was all true. Luo Yan smiled bitterly and said, Little sister, even if you don't want to, there is nothing we can do. We can only wait slowly for now. When you return to normal, I will definitely take you to eat delicious food. Everyone knows that the eldest prince Luo Yan is cold and decisive towards everyone, but his attitude becomes very gentle and even doting towards his sister. Hey, this is the only way. Rosa sat listlessly on the chair, holding her cheeks in her hands, and sighed, why is this princess so unlucky to have such a thing happen? Since her defeat and return, she has caused quite a stir in the Juyu world. Not only the 10 tribes of Juyu, but also all the ethnic groups belonging to Juyu have heard of this shocking news. After all, the plan to invade the Immortaland this time was a decision made after careful consideration by the top management and feeling that it was foolproof. And the northern cold immortal territory is the weakest link. After all, according to past intelligence, there is not even an immortal emperor in this poor place. They can easily take over this place by simply dispatching a coalition of monks from the lower 3 clans and a dozen immortal emperor-level leaders to take the lead. What's more, this time there is also a princess from the Asura tribe joining the party. She is a proud daughter of heaven who is skilled in both formations and talismans. She has so many ways to kill. No matter how you look at it, it is impossible to go wrong in this aspect. But unfortunately, a slap in the face happened. All the coalition forces of the 3 tribes were destroyed in the northern cold Immortaland, and only Rosa escaped alive. She was also infected by the indigenous sorcery and became pregnant, which triggered a series of controversies in the Shira world. This operation was a complete failure. It's like being hit in the head. The top management has lost all face. Since then, Rosa has endured tremendous pressure every day and lived a very uncomfortable life in this palace. Her heart is full of endless regrets, and she regrets why she had to take this trip into troubled waters in the first place. This way she won't meet that hateful human man. Think of this. Rosa gnashed her teeth in hatred, grinding her silver teeth loudly. Luo Yan thought of something and muttered, Little sister, I still don't know the origin of the native of the Immortaland who made you look like this. Can you tell me that you were in the northern Han Immortaland at that time? What about your experience? Even in the face of her father's inquiry, Rosa was always reluctant to say anything. She felt very embarrassed and was in a bad mood, so she just tried to deal with it and left it alone. Now, Luo Yan asked at this juncture. Rosa hesitated a little, pursed her pink lips lightly, and nodded reluctantly. Luo Yan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. This way he could figure out why his sister lost so miserably. You know, he has watched Rosa grow up and knows how superb Rosa's skills are among the immortal emperors. After careful preparation, activating a top-notch 9th-level Taoist array, combined with various powerful talismans, is enough to kill all immortal emperor-level creatures. In this situation, he would still lose completely. Even Luo Yan felt incredible. That human native's surname is Yi, and he calls himself Emperor Yi. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Who would have expected that Rosa's first words would shock Luo Yan next to her? Damn it, heaven, Emperor of Heaven. At this time, Luo Yan's eyes showed deep astonishment, and the expression on his face was greatly shocked. The more powerful and advanced the being is, the more he knows how huge the meaning of the word, Emperor of Heaven, is. He is also a strong man in the Holy Realm, but he does not dare to call himself the Emperor of Heaven. Not to mention him, even his father is very taboo about this. Unexpectedly, a mere native of the immortal realm, a human monk who is not even a saint, dares to call himself the Emperor of Heaven. You are too brave. If he hadn't heard it from his sister, Luo Yan would never have believed it. Can such a person still survive to this day? It's just weird. Rosa ignored her brother's shock, because she also had the same ridiculous expression at that time. Just keep talking about yourself. From the killing of a group of immortal emperor-level leaders, to coming alone to break the formation with a snap of his fingers, and finally surviving intact under the immortal destroying talisman, every incident made Luo Yan's eyelids jump as a listener. Let's not talk about killing those immortal emperor-level experts from the lower 3 tribes. Let's take the example of breaking the formation with a snap of one's fingers. This requires the formation skills to reach the formation saint level in order to break through the world-destroying calamity fire formation with ease. And being able to face the immortal destroying talisman without any damage is probably something even the most powerful among the immortal emperors would find difficult to achieve. Anyway, Luo Yan knew very well that if his cultivation level were at the 6th level of the immortal emperor, he could survive facing an immortal destroying talisman, but he would definitely be seriously injured in the end, and he would definitely not be as comfortable as the other party. Even if he is the immortal emperor 9th level, he can at most minimize the damage, but he still cannot achieve that level. After listening to the victim's story, even Luo Yan, who had always had a high opinion of himself, felt sorry for his sister. A look of sympathy appeared on his face. He reached out and touched the little Lily's head and sighed. Little sister, you really didn't lose unfairly this time. Chapter 574. C576 Meeting of the 10 Clans. Rosa. Brother, are you comforting me? In fact, it's not necessary. Go, don't touch my head. If you touch me, I won't grow taller. Rosa reacted, slapped the big hand on her head, stared at her big eyes, and said angrily. Ahem. Luo Yan coughed to cover up the embarrassment on his face, and secretly cursed. It seems as if you can grow taller without touching your head. His sister is very smart, but her physical development is too poor. After so many years, she is only 1.5 meters tall. She is very petite and can be called a strange thing among the Asura clan. You should know that the overall height of adult women of the Ashura tribe is about 1.78 meters, while the minimum height of adult men is 1.9 meters, and there are many who exceed 2 meters. Therefore, the height of his sister is really extremely rare in the history of the Asura clan. Fortunately, the Asura clan respects the strong, and his sister is a princess of the same country. If she were a commoner, she would be discriminated against no matter what she did outside, and she would run into obstacles everywhere. Did you hear that? Don't touch my head in the future. I will really get angry. Rosa warned angrily. Her height has always been a pain in her heart. She used to think that as her realm improved, she would grow taller quickly, but now she is in the immortal emperor realm, and she is still 1.5 meters tall. Over time, it became her obsession and she didn't like any tall person to touch her head, even the closest people around her. Even her personality was affected and she became more and more coquettish, trying to hide her inner inferiority. Rosa would feel proud and satisfied every time she saw those guys who were taller than her outside, treating her respectfully and even with a look of fear. Okay, I just won't touch you. Luo Yan smiled bitterly. Although in his eyes, it was really cute for his sister to get angry, he still decided not to tease her, lest she turn around and complain to her father. After all, I am not afraid of anything in the holy kingdom of Vastu. The only thing I am afraid of is my father. In this way, the so-called Yi Tiandi is indeed a peerless man. Unfortunately, he was born in that backward immortal world and is destined to have limited achievements. Now that he is against our Asura clan, he will probably end up miserable in the future. Quote. Luo Yan's eyes flashed and he sneered. All creatures in the Juyu realm are well aware of the relationship between the immortal realm and the Kunlun realm. The reason why Juyu is so brooding about the immortal realm is mainly to avenge its shame. After all, the destruction of the Juyu allied forces was the same as the main founder of the immortal realm. Lu Wangshu can't escape the relationship. The two sides have also had large and small conflicts. However, as the years have changed, Juyu's overall strength has long been able to crush the immortal world, and it can be destroyed by just a few holy realms. But things are not that simple. According to inside information, Juyu decisively dispatched many saints a long time ago to destroy the immortal world. Unexpectedly, the powerful men from the holy realm of Shenting showed up to intercept, claiming that Juyu was not allowed to use beings above the immortal emperor to deal with the immortal realm. If this rule was violated, they would immediately stop and fight back. The saints of Juyu refused to accept it, and the two sides fought fiercely. In that battle, the starry sky trembled, holy blood was poured out, and all forces in the universe were shaken. In order to avoid the situation becoming more serious, Juyu had no choice but to make concessions on this issue. In fact, anyone with a discerning eye can see that Shenting is deliberately disgusting Juyu and preventing Juyu from smoothly avenging the past. In a word, it's all about the state of mind. After weighing the pros and cons, Juyu had no choice but to abide by this rule. Unexpectedly, the immortal realm is really difficult to capture. The key factor is that there is a pseudo-formation saint like Lu Wangshu sitting in charge. Obviously, there were several opportunities to destroy the immortal realm, but they were saved by the opponent's superb formations. Over time, the immortal realm was regarded as a whetstone by Juyu, and it was usually used to train the new generation of monks. Go to the starry sky battlefield and kill the monks guarding the immortal world, and you will receive points in exchange for various elixirs, techniques, and the like. The monks in the Nine Nether World call the monks in the immortal world indigenous people, while the monks in the immortal world call the monks in the Nine Nether World the outsiders. Even with the interference from the divine court, Luo Yan did not think that Emperor Yi Tian would end well in the end. After all, his father had already decided to quarrel with his little sister because of her humiliation. Now he was convening a meeting of the 10 clans and proposed to violate the rules of the divine court and send holy monks to destroy the immortal world. By that time, no matter how powerful Yi Tiandi is, he will not be able to resist the power of a strong man in the holy realm. That's right, people like him are seeking death. How dare you tease this princess like this? Rosa slapped the table angrily and gritted her teeth. Because the movement was too large, a pain came from her stomach. The pain made this little Loli's face change, and she wanted to cry without tears. Yi, I hate you. At the same time, in the starry sky of the Nine Nether Realm, a huge black temple is suspended quietly, surrounded by a vast galaxy above it, with hundreds of millions of stars swirling around it, pulled by an incomprehensible force. Looking from a distance, the scene is very shocking. The strange thing is that this majestic black temple is unguarded, but no one dares to set foot on it without authorization, and they all stay away. Because this is a special forbidden area recognized by the Juyu world, and what it symbolizes is the identity of the decision-maker of the 10 Nether clan of Juyu. In the main hall, there is a simple and rich atmosphere of time. There are 10 mirrors around, shining with a strange luster. In the mirror, a different figure appeared. Even through the mirror, one could feel the terrible aura on them. Even the space in the hall was affected by the air, showing distorted ripples. This is the meeting of the 10 clans. Each of the people who appeared now is the clan leader of the 10 clans of Juyu. It is worth mentioning that every time the meeting of the 10 clans is opened, it can involve the future direction of Juyu realm. In the highest mirror, a majestic figure in an imperial robe sat upright, with countless holy energy wrapped around him, and a supreme majesty like dominating the common people. He is Luo Wuliang, the ruler of the holy kingdom of Veruo, and also the current clan leader of the Asura clan. Luo Wuliang wore a holy crown, his face had a hideous scar, and his long black hair like a waterfall was draped at his waist, showing the original wildness, and his eyes were as sharp as a knife, piercing people's hearts. The atmosphere in the hall was very depressing and low. The other 9 clan leaders exchanged glances with each other, and a hint of displeasure appeared on their faces. Don't you all agree with my proposal? Luo Wuliang's tone was low, but his majestic voice was like thunder, rumbling. Patriarch Luo, you can't let us, the 9 Nether Realm, take risks with you just because of the little princess's problem. According to your proposal, the conflict between us and the Divine Court realm will escalate and turn into a fight between the Saint realms. The Yaksha clan leader said with a stiff upper lip. Chapter 575. C577 Changes in the plan. That's right, in order to flatten a backward indigenous world and start a holy war with Shenting, the gains outweigh the losses. The leader of the Squid Tai tribe advised. HMPH, it's just a group of semi-saint monks. They can't be said to be powerful saints at all. How can they violate the regulations? Luo Wuliang said coldly. Several clan leaders were speechless for a moment, with expressions of embarrassment on their faces. Semi-saints are indeed not truly powerful in the holy realm, but they are also out of the realm of immortality. But they didn't dare to say it openly and slap them in the face. After all, although they were clan leaders, their race levels were different. They were the supreme clan and the head of the 10 clans. So it was best to let the clan leaders of the upper 3 clans do this, explain. As for the middle 3 tribes and the lower 3 tribes, they are just responsible for helping out. Clan Chief Luo, there's no need to play this kind of word game, right? Do you think the higher-ups of Shenting are all fools? Mirror on the other side. There was a middle-aged man wearing a black gilt dress with curly brown hair. His ears were pointed and his exposed skin was too pale. He exuded an elegant and noble aura. At this time, he was holding a cup in his hand, shaking the bright red and hot holy blood in the cup, and said unceremoniously. This is the leader of the Undead Blood clan. The reason why he dared to confront Luo Wuliang in public was because the Immortal Vampire clan was one of the 3 upper clans of the 9 Netherworld and had a large say. In fact, in the so-called talks between the 10 clans, the upper 3 clans and the Supreme Clan are actually making decisions. The middle 3 clans and the lower 3 clans can only act according to the wind, or take sides. This is the difference brought about by ethnic status. Facing Luo Wuliang's tyranny, only the patriarch of the Sansheng clan is qualified to fight head-on. Blood Nightmare, what did you say? Luo Wuliang's eyes burst out with a cold light, and his tone was serious. Blood Nightmare snorted coldly, am I wrong in what I said? To put it bluntly, you are just playing a word game and want to vent your anger on your precious daughter as soon as possible. But let me tell you, if the Semi-Saint Legion is dispatched to conquer the immortal realm, then the Divine Court will definitely not sit still and wait for death, and will definitely turn against us. Take the Kunlun realm as an example. It is very likely that the Divine Court will use this as an excuse to ask the Saint to intervene directly. Then the situation will be turbulent and the situation will escalate. Can you, Luo Wuliang, take the responsibility? The words are very sharp and to the point. The clan leaders nodded secretly, this was also a point of concern for them. In today's universe, holy creatures are at the strongest level and are the foundation for many worlds to stand on. If a large-scale holy war breaks out, not only will the destructive power be terrifying, but many ethnic groups will lose their shelter and fall into the dust. At that time, the universe will inevitably be reshuffled. So in general, avoid it if you can. The main thing is, destroying an immortal world is really nothing, but as the saying goes, a single move can affect the whole body, and Shenting will definitely take action, treat others in their own way, and take further measures against the Kunlun world. Now, Kunlun realm is in an extremely sensitive position in the pattern of the universe. The top forces from all sides are watching with eager eyes. As a once glorious big world, the development potential contained within it is unimaginable. Regardless of whether Kunlun realm is not good now, in fact, if given enough time, it is inevitable to keep up with the times. Even after a long period of accumulation, one can soar into the sky. For this reason, the senior officials of Juyu and Shenting attached great importance to it, and they have been fighting openly and secretly for countless years. After many negotiations, it was decided to minimize the loss and exchange the ownership rights of the Kunlun realm at the minimum price. This was later known as the Saint Agreement. It is clearly stipulated that strong people in the Holy Realm are not allowed to participate. Once the agreement is violated, the restraint will be invalid. After all, compared with the outbreak of the Holy War, fighting to the death, the starry sky will be extinguished, and all races will decline. According to the agreement, whoever can occupy the Kunlun realm in advance will belong to him. It has to be said that this kind of monks who can only send out monks below the Holy Realm to sneak into the Kunlun realm to fight for ownership rights are indeed much gentler. It also directly avoided a holy war sweeping the entire universe. But now, Luo Wuliang's proposal made everyone smell danger. Because this is very likely to be the trigger to start a holy war. Now, hearing Blood Nightmare's words, Luo Wuliang's inner anger rose, and a flash of anger flashed in his eyes. As a father, he was really carried away by the matter of his daughter, so he desperately wanted to conquer the immortal world to vent his hatred. In order to avoid opposition, he proposed the idea of letting the semi-saint intervene, hoping to gain everyone's support. However, he still thought too simply and seriously underestimated the vigilance of these guys. Hee. Luo Wuliang tried hard to control his emotions, a sneer escaped from the corner of his mouth. I admit that I have selfish motives, but think about it, how many times have we failed? There are countless strong people in the Juyu realm, but they have been unable to win over the lagging immortal realm. The divine court is watching our jokes. Quote, as long as the semi-saints are dispatched, the immortal world can be destroyed. Why not do it to avenge the shame? Even if it will affect the pattern, it will be within a controllable range. We only need to control the competition between the semi-saints. I believe that the old guys in the divine court will understand it tacitly. As for the responsibility, I, Luo, will take it upon myself. The words are very strong and full of momentum. All the clan leaders looked at each other, not daring to make a hasty conclusion. Ahem, let me be fair. In the other mirror, a thin figure shrouded in death was looming, and an old voice came from it. As soon as he spoke, all the clan leaders listened carefully. Because the other party was the old clan leader of the prison clan, who was highly respected. The prison clan was the leader of the 3 clans in the 9 netherworld, and was second only to the Asura clan in status. Prison elder, please speak. Luo Wuliang's tone was more respectful. Among all the clan leaders, the one he dared not underestimate was this person. Prison elder said slowly, first of all, even Rosa, a girl, could not take down the Beihan immortal realm with her army. It is conceivable that there is a peerless genius of the human race there. We can no longer judge it with common sense. The eyes of the clan leaders sank slightly. Indeed. They knew how powerful Rosa's methods were. With full preparation, it was impossible for an immortal emperor-level strongman to compete with her. As a result, they were defeated miserably. When they first learned about it, it was very incredible. Under this situation, if we don't take special measures, I'm afraid we will never be able to take over the immortal land. But if we adopt Chief Luo's proposal, the consequences are unimaginable. So, in my opinion, we can first see how Chief Blood's lurking plan goes before making plans. If it goes well, we can cooperate inside and outside and take over the immortal land. If it doesn't go well, we will consider Chief Luo's proposal. What do you think? The words of the old man you made everyone accept a lot. Blood Nightmare shook the wine glass, tasted a mouthful of holy blood, and showed a confident smile on his lips. What elder you said makes sense. Our clan has carefully selected a group of immortal emperor-level strongmen, secretly lurked in the immortal realm through the demon cave, and contacted the insiders in the immortal realm. I believe that with the innate magical powers of our clan, most of the high-level people in the immortal realm will soon be replaced by people from our clan. In the future, when we conquer this immortal realm, my immortal blood clan will make great contributions. Warm tips. If you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error, or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will deal with it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 576. C578 Super Humble. Hearing this, the expressions of the clan leaders changed, and their confidence increased a bit. Everyone knows that the innate magical power of the undead blood clan can change into the appearance of others at will, and keep the same breath. In all actions related to lurking and beheading, the monks of the undead blood clan can perform very well. This is the racial advantage. That's great. I wonder if clan leader Luo has any objections. Yu Lao laughed. Luo agrees with this decision. Having said that, Luo Wuliang can only borrow the donkey to go downhill. After all, this is the best way so far. If the undead blood clan's actions can succeed, then it will be easy to conquer the immortal land, and he doesn't need to take such a big risk to send out the Semi-Saint Legion to forcibly interfere with the rules. After all, as I said just now, it is easy to turn the situation into an uncontrollable state. The clan leaders' faces eased and their hearts were relieved. The meeting ended. The figure of the 10 mirrors dissipated like a dream bubble. The empty hall fell into silence. Immortal land. The Middle-earth immortal land. An inconspicuous mountain. The autumn wind was bleak, and the fallen leaves were flying. 33 blood-robed figures with powerful auras stood like demons, with cold faces. Are you the insider of the immortal world? The blood-robed man in the lead did not hesitate to lift the brim of his hat, revealing a head of blood-red hair, with an evil face, and looked up and down at the young man in feathered clothes in front of him. Yu Washeng was awed in his heart, and was secretly shocked by the cultivation of this group of lurkers. He could see that these 33 people were all at the level of immortal emperors. Especially the blood-haired man in the lead, who made him feel an overwhelming sense of oppression. It was as if he was facing God. Very strong, very strong. Yu Washeng forced himself to be calm and said in a deep voice, "Yes, I am the insider." He knew that the other party was the guy who replied to the message in a very arrogant way. As soon as he finished speaking, the blood-haired man suddenly flashed in front of him, raised his hand and slapped Yu Washeng in the face, cursing. "You lowly native, do you know that it is because of your wrong intelligence that our first step of Juyu failed?" The heavy slap echoed in the grove. Yu Washeng was slapped unexpectedly, blood spurted from the corner of his mouth, and a clear blood mark appeared on half of his face, which was burning and stinging. After he barely stabilized his body, his head was buzzing and his eyes were full of disbelief. "I am the dignified Yuha Immortal Emperor, the first-class immortal official of the Immortal Court, and now I am slapped in public." Ha ha, the companions behind the blood-haired man all sneered, looking at Yu Washeng with eyes full of contempt and ridicule. You dare to hit me." Yu Washeng came back to his senses from the confusion and roared. A powerful imperial power burst out from his body, and his momentum rose steadily, as if a violent hurricane rose on the spot. "What's wrong with hitting you?" "Pa!" Another heavy slap. Yu Washeng's eyes were full of stars, and his figure staggered a few steps. There were deep blood marks on both sides of his face, which were red and swollen, and looked very ridiculous. When he looked again, there was a trace of fear in his eyes, and his heart was like a storm. He couldn't even see how the other party made a move, and every time he exerted force, the momentum formed could suppress him, making it difficult for him to resist in a short time. Yu Washeng suddenly woke up and realized that only those who were at the top of the immortal emperors could tease him like dealing with an ant. After all, there are also high and low levels among the immortal emperors. He is currently only at the second-tier level. Only the rumored super first-tier level can easily suppress him. In short, the difference in strength between him and the other party is huge. "What, you still don't accept it?" The blood-haired man had a sneer on his lips, and raised his hand high again while speaking. Yu Washeng shuddered, and hurriedly bowed his head and said, "I accept it, I accept it." Just met, he was slapped twice. Who knows this feeling? It was these two simple slaps that made Yu Washeng realize the gap between them. There is no way, others hit him like playing. That's better. Seeing that the other party admitted his defeat, the blood-haired man slowly put down his palm, with a sense of oppression in his tone. "Now, do you know your mistake?" Yu Washeng was full of anger, and he felt even more uncomfortable when he heard this, and he gritted his teeth to defend himself. "Regarding the wrong intelligence, I have a certain responsibility, but at that time, there was indeed no immortal emperor in Beihan Immortal Realm. The reason why I didn't pass on the latest intelligence in time was because the upper level checked strictly, and I was afraid of being exposed, so." Snap. Yu Washeng was slapped again, and this time he was slapped directly to the ground, with blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. This is too much. Yu Washeng felt extremely angry and humiliated in his heart. "Can't you give me some respect? You native, you really know how to make excuses for yourself. It is because of your incompetence that I lost so many cultivators in Juyu, Hetui." The blood-haired man sneered and spitted condescendingly. The spit drew a parabola in the air and landed accurately on Yu Washeng's head. Yu Washeng lowered his head, his eyes were bloodshot, and his back teeth were almost broken. I endured. Yu Washeng, who walked step by step, had suffered a lot in the immortal world. Later, after soaring into the sky, he was in a high position and enjoyed the admiration and worship of countless people. It's just that the scenery has been too long. Faced with this kind of humiliation again, it is difficult for Yu Washeng to adapt to it. After all, he is a giant in the immortal world, how could he be treated like this? Luantian Blood Emperor, please be gentle, don't beat our contact person to death. That's right, the senior leaders of the clan have repeatedly warned us to cooperate with the internal agents in the immortal world to carry out this mission well without making any mistakes. Just beat and beat, don't go too far, otherwise there will be gaps in your mind and affect your next actions. The companions behind him frowned and spoke one after another. It was not that they sympathized with Yu Washeng, but they were afraid that the blood-haired man would not act lightly or harshly and cause problems for others. How could they cooperate with him like this? You must know that this trial is very important. The reward points afterwards are very high, enough to exchange for a large amount of training resources, which is related to the opportunity of becoming a saint and a bright future. Only by becoming a strong person in the Holy Realm can one reach a new level and have nothing to do with the immortal way from now on. Therefore, they take this mission very seriously. Hearing the noise behind him, the blood-haired man known as the Blood Emperor of Chaotic Sky, with veins protruding from his forehead, turned his head suddenly, stared, and shouted. Are you teaching me how to do things? The angry voice was like the roar of a lion from the east of the river, containing a huge impact. It exploded in everyone's ears, making their minds shake and their heads aching. For a moment, the grove was silent. The immortal vampire monks present all showed fear on their faces. The supreme clan and the upper tribes all follow the same title system internally. Once they reach the realm of immortal emperor, they are automatically promoted to duke and can enjoy higher preferential treatment. And that chaotic blood emperor is the unparalleled genius currently ranked number 1 on the duke list. He is the strongest duke of the undead vampire clan. Although they are also dukes, there is a huge gap in strength and they cannot be compared with each other at all. At this time, in the face of the chaos of the Blood Emperor's anger, these fellow Blood Emperors did not even dare to fart. HMPH, I don't need others to teach me how to do things. If anyone wants to teach me how to do things, they can stand up and speak with their strength. Luantian Blood Emperor glanced at the whole place with a stern look, and said coldly. Invisibly, a terrifying cultivation aura was released. Immortal Emperor Ninth Heaven, Yu Washeng's heart was shaken. His previous guess was indeed correct. He is definitely an Immortal Emperor level powerhouse above the first tier level. It's just a latent mission, but it's even dispatched at this level. The background of this alien race from outside the territory is unfathomable. Do you have any problem with me? Luantian Blood Emperor turned his head, stared at Yu Wansheng who lowered his head and said nothing, and said coldly. After a long silence, Yu Washeng raised his face again with a bright smile. He stood up like a normal person and said respectfully, Your Excellency is joking, how dare I have any objections? What you taught me just now was right. I realize that I was wrong. I hope you can forgive me for my sin. Seeing that the other party was so understanding, Luantian Blood Emperor also showed a proud smile, patted Yu Washeng's face, and said angrily. Cooperate well with us, and your benefits will be indispensable when things are done. Yes, yes. Yu Washeng still kept smiling, but the smile looked very stiff, like a mask hiding his true expression. No one knows what is going on in his mind at this moment. Very good. Luantian Blood Emperor put his hands behind his back and said in a deep voice, According to the wishes of the superiors, this operation is called Change the Day. We need you to assist us later, secretly kill some big figures in the Immortal Court, and replace our people with them. When the time is right, we will cooperate with the 9 Nether Alliance inside and outside to completely conquer the immortal world. These short words revealed huge ambitions. Yu Washeng's face was shocked. How is this possible? If we go to war in such a big way, our secrets will be revealed. Easier said than done. I know you don't believe it, but what about now? Luantian Blood Emperor had a playful smile on his lips, and his appearance suddenly changed dramatically. His muscles were squirming rapidly, and his bones were crackling. In a few breaths, he became as good as Yu Huasheng. Exactly the same. It's just that the smile at the corner of his mouth is more sinister than Yu Wansheng's. Hiss. Yu Washeng took a deep breath. So similar. It's almost carved out of the same mold. Even the breath can be perfectly interpreted. Is this racial talent? How terrifying. Aha. Luantian Blood Emperor changed back again, admiring the native's unseen appearance, and said with his tongue, How is it? I am fully confident that you will complete the mission successfully. Yu Washeng came back to his senses and quickly raised his hands in a gesture. Forced into a desperate situation, he had no way out and could only put his wealth and life on the aliens from outside the territory. He wants to go further and stand higher. Even if you bear the world's infamy, so what? Haha, good. Luantian Blood Emperor and others smiled and exchanged glances with each other, already expecting a triumphant return in their hearts. Chapter 577. C579 can write novels, talented. After this period of recuperation, the interior of Beihan Immortal Domain is relatively stable. Surprisingly, the concentration of immortal energy here is dozens of times more than before, and countless cultivators have benefited from it. Their cultivation has made rapid progress, and many old generations have also broken through bottlenecks and reached a higher level. Just when everyone was speculating on the reasons, a piece of news came out like thunder from the plain. It is said that the reason why Beihan Immortal Domain has undergone major changes is because Yi Shenju used his supreme power to transform the environment of heaven and earth. As soon as the news came out, all the cultivators were extremely shocked. Damn, what kind of heaven-defying method is this? It can actually change the cultivation environment of the entire immortal domain. After all, Beihan Immortal Domain lagged behind the other 4 immortal domains before, and the reason was that there was too little immortal energy between heaven and earth, and the cultivation environment was relatively backward. Otherwise, it would not be called the land of emperors and criticized. Now, this crux has been completely solved, and the overall environment of Beihan immortal domain has leapt to a new level. All cultivators living here will be bathed in rich immortal energy, and cultivation will become easier. This earth-shaking change is no less than a miracle for them. And the one who facilitated all this is Yi Shenju of the current Beihan immortal realm. For a time, that man was completely deified in their minds and became omnipotent. The cultivators were filled with tears and grateful. Yi Shenju, what should we do to repay you? Your great kindness and virtue will never be forgotten by us. It can be imagined that with this kind of environment, my Beihan immortal realm will have an unprecedented grand occasion. No kidding, with this level of popular support, if the immortal court wants to remove Yi Junline's position as the immortal lord one day, the cultivators of Beihan immortal realm will definitely riot collectively and stand up to support Yi Junline at the first time. There is no way. After a series of operations, this group of people have already regarded Yi Junline as a godlike existence. Even if Yi Junline wants to step down from the altar, they will push him back. Eternal immortal sect, blue sky and white clouds, fresh air. Yi Junline didn't know that the attitude of the outside cultivators towards him had reached an extremely fanatical level. Although he had not yet reached the level of a formation saint in terms of cultivation and mental power, he had already reached the level of formation attainment, so when he had nothing to do, he figured out a new formation based on the mountain topography of the Beihan immortal realm. This new formation, one link after another, can be called exquisite and perfect. In this way, under the effect of this formation, the immortal energy of the Beihan immortal realm gushed out like a gusher, changing the previous phenomenon of scarcity. This operation, even Lu Wangshu, who was known as the Supreme Formation Master, was stunned. Because Yi Junline's formation, he had never seen it before. It was beyond his cognition. Eternal immortal sect. On the mountain peak, the voices of two women sounded separately, reaching Yi Junline's ears from far to near. Tang Yao Yao, what are you doing all day? Instead of practicing well, you are secretly writing novels. What's the use of this thing? Master, I beg you, give me the manuscript back quickly, it is the result of my hard work during this period of time. Oh, the title of the book is so shameful, it seems that it is related to fellow Taoist Yi, I will give it to him and let him judge you carefully. No, Master, I will never dare to do it again. On the other side, Yi Junline was leaning on the recliner with his eyes closed as usual, but the voices of Luo Qingwu and Tang Yaoyao woke him up. And from the sound of it, he was actually involved. This made Yi Junline confused. What's going on? At this time, Luo Qingwu ran over with a handful of manuscripts in her hand, with an excited expression, followed by Tang Yaoyao who was anxious to cry, with a look of shame in her eyes. Great immortal Master Yi, take a look at the novel written for you by your admirer. Luo Qingwu deliberately pretended to be pretentious and said with a smirk on her face. Quote ? Yi Junline was confused. Looking at the thick stack of manuscripts stuffed in his hands, several question marks popped up in his head. Damn, are you serious? Master, how can you do this? Tang Yaoyao was so angry that she stamped her feet and her pretty face was red with shame. During this period, Yi Junline lingered in her mind, so she simply came up with a bold idea. Since she had a rich imagination and liked to be unconstrained, she simply took Yi Junline as the male protagonist and wrote a female-oriented love theme. Tang Yaoyao, who was itching, did it as soon as she said it. After careful planning, she wrote a romantic novel in her mind. Although it was only a first draft, she was more and more satisfied with it. Just when she wanted to go back and revise it, she was seen by her own master. This is the current situation. Seeing the romantic novel she wrote being stuffed into the hands of the silver-haired young man, Tang Yaoyao blushed with shame and wished she could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. The reason why she had this reaction was that she felt embarrassed, and on the other hand, there were many explicit contents in this romance novel that she had imagined. Those who understand will understand. Senior Yi, actually my writing is very bad, it's really not worth reading. Tang Yaoyao's big watery eyes were full of pleading. Hearing this, Yi Junline frowned. What kind of words are you talking about? People should have confidence, and you have talent, why are you afraid of being embarrassed? It's okay, I won't laugh at you. As he said this, he looked down and saw a few big words that made him raise his eyebrows. He felt a little weird. Because the name of this novel is, The Tyrannical Emperor Falls in Love with Me. Good name, quite direct. Yi Junline nodded. Thank you, thank you. Tang Yaoyao blushed and whispered. Then, Yi Junlin began to look through the manuscripts one by one, and the contents were all in his sight. At first, he had a smile on his face and thought the plot was quite sweet, which could be said to be crazy sugar spreading, but the more he read, the weirder his expression became. There are many large-scale contents in the book, which are simply not suitable for children. Especially there is such a plot that makes him feel inexplicably familiar. The heroine's surname is Tang, and the maid beside her is called Xiao Luo. One morning, the maid Xiao Luo was carrying tea to the heroine's room, but she accidentally saw the heroine and the hero doing morning exercises in the room. Xiao Luo was blushing when she heard it outside the room. Finally, she couldn't bear it anymore, so she put down the plate in her hand and sat outside by herself. Yi Junlin felt more and more familiar, and a memory of the previous inn emerged in his mind. That was the first time he and Luo Qingwu had sex. Good guy, this is used as material. Yi Junlin smiled bitterly, is this the inspiration from reality? As for this maid Xiao Luo, it's obvious who she refers to. So, don't mess with those who can write novels, otherwise you will never know what kind of role you will be arranged to play. Chapter 578. C580 The Queen of Qingzhou. Tang Yaoyao on the side was bursting with shame. She knew that Yi Junlin must have seen that kind of content, including the famous scene where she choreographed her master. If her master knew about this, she couldn't even imagine how painful the palm of her hand would be from being beaten. After all, Tang Yaoyao always remembered that experience in the inn. Sometimes she thought about how great it would be if the heroine was her, so this is a plot that is close to reality. Soon, Yi Junlin finished reading the novel and glanced at Tang Yaoyao with a complicated expression, not knowing what to say. How's it going? Are you satisfied, immortal Master Yi? Luo Qingwu was still kept in the dark and winked. Ahem, okay, keep up the good work. Yi Junlin coughed a few times to cover up the embarrassment on his face. Really? Luo Qingwu's beautiful eyes widened. Could it be that her apprentice is really a genius in writing novels? That's of no use. Is there a future for a monk to write this? Yi Junlin glanced at Luo Qingwu with pity, thinking that you don't even know what role you play in it, so you bully your apprentice when you have nothing to do. The beans were buckling and the water was flowing. I have to say, your apprentice really dares to write. Tang Yaoyao quickly took the thick manuscript, endured the shame in her heart, lowered her head and spoke like a mosquito. Thank you, Senior Yi, for the compliment. Her face was very red and she looked like she had a fever. Yi Junlin said, after you go back, refine the plot, and then consider officially publishing a book and putting it into the market. The price of a single copy should not be too expensive, just a civilian price. If it is popular, you might be able to make a lot of money. Pen. Hear this. Tang Yaoyao was stunned. This was something she had never thought of, because when she first started writing this book, she just wanted to satisfy her own imagination. But if more people can see her works, it would be quite a sense of accomplishment if you think about it. But what if everyone doesn't like it? After all, there are a lot of trolls these days. Tang Yaoyao was a little entangled, fearing that she would be scolded by readers. Before Yi Junlin could speak, Luo Qingwu said first, it's great to make money. What are you waiting for? The female gangster's eyes were shining and she was very excited. If her apprentice could make a lot of money, wouldn't she not have to worry about money for drinking in the future? Yi Junlin saw what the other party was thinking and said angrily. As a master, shouldn't you show something? For example, help your apprentice by paying for the mass production of novels and marketing expenses. The subsequent manuscript fee will be 50 to 50 cents. Do you really want to waste it? Can't go whoring. Luo Qingwu was silent. This was not in line with her usual style. But considering the long-term interests, she felt that what Yi Junlin said made sense. Okay, let's follow your plan. Luo Qingwu was a rare moment of grandeur. She used to eat people without spitting out their bones. This time, treat it as an investment. Tang Yaoyao was moved. The northern cold immortal territory is so vast, and the number of monks exceeds hundreds of millions. With such a huge market, if the novel sells well, I can't even imagine the profits behind it. Yaoyao, my teacher has shown sincerity, what do you say here? Luo Qingwu raised her eyebrows. Tang Yaoyao nodded, disciple is willing to give it a try. Okay, it's settled. The master and apprentice hit it off immediately. Just then, a jarhead boy ran over anxiously, waving an envelope in his hand. Master, here is a letter about you. The sender claims to be the messenger of immortal Lord Nishizawa. Yi Junlin frowned. The immortal Lord of Nishizawa Immortal Realm sent him a message. He doesn't know me, why should I send him a letter? It's actually a letter sent to you by Immortal Lord's eyes. Luo Qingwu's expression changed and she was greatly surprised. There was something strange in the look in Yi Junline's eyes. Why is your look so weird? Yi Junline looked strange. Luo Qingwu said in a somewhat sour tone, Master Yi, you are so blessed. Even Immortal Master's eyes has taken the initiative to find you. It is said that she is a female seductress who is so charming that she will kill you for your life. Oh, it turns out to be a woman. Yi Junline was a little puzzled after capturing this key information. Is it really a blessing? Forget it, the answer lies in this letter, you will know after opening it. Yi Junline picked up the letter. The letter was as thin as a cicada's wings and glowed with azure luster. It looked really good in the sunlight. As soon as he reached out and touched it, he could feel the extraordinary power within it, and it would take Immortal Emperor level power to unlock it. Yi Junline mobilized his strength to resolve the restrictions on the envelope, and then slowly unfolded a piece of cyan letterhead. The handwriting is beautiful, smooth and agile, making one imagine that it was written by a woman with a delicate mind. I am Su Yingwo, and I would like to congratulate fellow Taoist Yi for assuming the position of Beihan Immortal Master. Close black lens bracket. The first line at the beginning made Yi Junline nod. Yes, this Immortal Lord Nishizawa is polite. As a result, his eyes moved down to the second line of words, and Yi Junline was stunned. Your apprentice Bai Shaoxi is in my hands. What, Shaoxi is in her hand? Yi Junline sat up suddenly, his eyes sharp. Does this mean you are threatening him? Yi Junline calmed down and continued reading. The whole point of the article was to let him go over and meet Bai Shaoxi. It felt like there was something inexplicable about it that made it difficult for Yi Junline to figure it out. Is this Immortal Lord Nishizawa an enemy or a friend? If they are friends, that would be the best, but if they are enemies, no matter what their identities are, Yi Junline doesn't mind killing them. But it is certain that his apprentice Bai Shaoxi is safe at the moment, so he is just waiting for him to go over and see what the specific situation is. Wait, this Immortal Lord's eyes said at the end that she was in Qingzhou, could she be a fox demon? Yi Junline's eyes flashed. Don't you know, the current Immortal Lord's eyes is a fox demon, and a pure-blooded nine-tailed celestial fox, named the Empress of Qingzhou. Luo Qingwu said. The nine-tailed celestial fox is the top royal family among the demons. A pure-blooded nine-tailed celestial fox is not much worse than a real dragon or a phoenix. I thought that the position of Immortal Lord was held by the human race. Yi Junline was a little surprised. It was like this before, but it is said that the previous Immortal Lord's eyes applied to abdicate and recommended the Qingzhou Empress to the Immortal Court. The Immortal Court attached great importance to this and asked her to go to the Immortal Court for investigation and assessment. Unexpectedly, she was finally approved. The Qingzhou Empress became the first Immortal Lord in the history of the immortal world to serve as a demon. Even so, there are still some criticisms from the outside world. Some say that the Qingzhou Empress used charm to make the high-level officials of the Immortal Court agree to her request, and some say that the Qingzhou Empress had an affair with several big figures in the Immortal Court. Luo Qingwu said. Hearing this, Yi Junline felt that this Qingzhou Empress Su Yingwo was even more extraordinary. Ding, congratulations to the host for triggering the sign-in task. Go to Qingzhou to complete the sign-in and you will get the golden eye of breaking delusion. Close black lens bracket. Suddenly, the system prompt sounded in his mind. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumb speed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 579. C579 Chapter 579. Chapter error, you can't read it for now, you can read the next chapter first, or click the error button below to report an error. Chapter 580, C582 Destroy and then build. Combined with his current situation, if he wants to break through, he must first become a woman, so that he can absorb yang and replenish yin to improve his cultivation. In this way, as long as his cultivation is high enough, he can break through the seal in his body as soon as possible and make great achievements. Yes, as long as I can become a woman, I can achieve a comeback with the advantages of the technique. Bo Chengli became more and more excited as he thought about it. All the pores in his body were stretching. Combined with the pleasure that emerged over and over again, this feeling soon spread to every hair, and it seemed that even his soul was about to leave his body. Yin-Yang Siphon Technique, Reverse. Although his cultivation is currently sealed, it does not mean that he has lost his cultivation. As long as his cultivation is still there, Bo Chengli can perform this technique. Suddenly, Bo Chengli began to deliberately reverse the yin-yang siphon technique, his brows furrowed deeply, and his expression looked very painful. The side effects of reversing the technique must be extremely uncomfortable. In the past, Bo Chengli was not willing to try it at all, and he did not think about it at all. Now, the situation is pressing, he must give it a try and throw away all his worries and prejudices. Break and then build. The bald man felt a little strange about Bo Chengli's reaction, but he didn't think about it carefully, thinking that he was too powerful. After a long time, Bo Chengli's body had some strange changes, and even his face became more gentle. What's going on? The sweaty bald man noticed something was wrong, stopped his attack and took a closer look, his pupils suddenly shook violently, and he was stunned. In his eyes, the pale, thin and handsome young man suddenly turned into a woman. Her snow-white skin was more delicate and smooth, her face was charming and could be compared to the level of disaster, and her red lips were so soft that they could be blown away. As for the flat and hard chest before, it also had two bowl-sized thunder spots at this moment. The bald man was confused, and looked down along his gaze, and suddenly the whole person was frightened. Ying, this charming woman with a slender body uttered a moan. Then, her long eyelashes trembled, and a pair of beautiful fox eyes slowly opened, as if to seduce the soul. Did it succeed? A clear and sweet female voice like a nightingale sounded. Bo Chengli felt the changes coming from his body, and his expression became more complicated. Who would have thought that the scumbag who had harmed countless women in the past was now forced to become a woman? It was still difficult to accept it in his heart when it really came to this point. After all, after reversing the skills, it would be as difficult as a mortal ascending to heaven to return to normal. But soon, he adapted to this new identity, and a sense of excitement inexplicably emerged in his heart. Because of the special experience these days, his body and mind changed from the inside out. In a sense, he began to like that indescribable feeling. So, for becoming a woman, Bo Chengli was more likely to accept it as if he had been vaccinated in advance. What kind of evil magic did you cast? The bald man reacted from the shock, pointed at the charming woman in front of him, and asked emotionally. He couldn't accept all this. After all, the audiences who could come here were very clear, but Bo Chengli suddenly became a woman. The bald man was not surprised, but felt deceived. You are not qualified to talk to me like this, kneel down. Bo Chengli stood up gracefully and sneered. The confidence of the past is back again. Fuck, what the hell did you say? The bald man glared at her, raised his palm as big as a palm fan and was about to slap her hard. Who knew that he was like being possessed by evil spirits, kneeling on his knees without hesitation, his fierce eyes became flattering, and his expression was full of flattery like a dog. Immortal, if you have any instructions, I am willing to do anything for you. That's right, this is affected by Bo Chengli's skills. In the past, he manipulated women, but now he has become a man. Seeing this, Bo Chengli showed a smug smile at the corner of her mouth, raised her snow-white chin, like a queen high above. She lifted her delicate jade feet, each toe was as delicate as cherry blossom petals, and with a faint fragrance, she stepped hard on the bald man's face. In this way, the jade feet retaliated against the bald man's face, and Bo Chengli felt very relieved for a while. How did you treat me before? Now I order you, you cheap dog thing. Yes, immortal. The bald man was so humiliated, but he didn't feel angry at all. His face was full of enjoyment, as if having such treatment was a great gift from heaven for him. Look at your cheap look, you will be my dog in the future, do you hear? Bo Chengli said contemptuously. Yes, I will be the immortal's dog in the future. The bald man flattered. Come on, bark twice and let me hear you. Bo Chengli felt the feeling of turning the tables, put his hands on his waist, raised his head and laughed loudly, his scalp tingling with pleasure. Afterwards, she returned all the humiliation she had suffered before to the bald man, and simply treated the bald man like a dog. Of course, she did not forget to do the right thing. That is to take yang to replenish yin. In this way, she can better improve her cultivation and impact the seal imposed by Hong Chenny. Stupid dog, what are you doing? In the fierce upheaval. The bald man is a immortal king-level cultivator, which is only an appetizer for her. Let's talk about it. After transforming into a woman, it was not as painful as before, but more of a tingling feeling. It was like an electric current flowing through the body, wave after wave, until it reached the peak of emotion. 1 hour later. Immortal, I feel so uncomfortable, can you stop first? The bald man whose essence was constantly being drained from his body showed a painful look on his face, and instinctively wanted to stop the exercise. Wow, Bo Chengli was sweating all over, and fell to the ground contentedly, as if he had received a tonic. His face was full of red light, and he was even more charming and attractive. On the other hand, the bald man, whose mighty and strong figure became extremely thin, his cheeks were sunken, his eye sockets were black, and he was so weak. Immortal, I tried my best. Useless trash, get out of here. Remember, keep what happened today a secret. Bo Chengli kicked the other party and shouted. Yes. The bald man got up with difficulty, pushed open the door, and walked out tremblingly. Inside the house, Bo Chengli stretched his waist, stroked his body with both hands, and a meaningful smile appeared on the corner of his beautiful mouth. This feeling is pretty good. Some male believers who had been waiting outside for a long time were surprised to see the bald man. Dao, you should pay more attention to your body. Excessive indulgence is not a good thing. Someone advised with good intentions. The bald man ignored it and walked out of the crowd in a depressed state. His abnormality did not arouse the suspicion of the believers present, who all thought it was caused by excessive indulgence. Oh, it's finally my turn. Brothers, I'll go in first and have some fun. In the team, a wretched-looking man rushed into Longyang Pavilion impatiently in the envious eyes of everyone. He didn't know what would happen to him. Since Bo Chengli changed his gender, it also indicated that they were destined to become nutrients. At this moment, a huge crisis is quietly brewing in the church. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix.